Testing. That looks really small over there. Let me see if I can figure out. That chat looks like it's really small. What's up, Florida? What's up, Sunday? Mario, how you doing, man? The cam looks super nice. It's the same camera, but I appreciate it. What's up, Kiani? That chat, Florida, can you confirm that the chat's a little bit too tiny for you to read? Yeah, it's small and in the way. It's not in the way of anything. Let me see if I can make it bigger. I just gotta try to remember how to do, like, because I'm just using this for the first time today, obviously. How do I change the chat? It brings me back here. Maybe if I go... There it is. I found it. Okay. Remove the white background. What's up, Ace? Oh, so the white background is distracting. I get you. I could do that. Let me just see what I want to use though, because I want it to be something that's... let's try this. Wait, did it actually update? But if I guess because it's black, right? That's why you're saying that, because the background, if it's not... how do I save it now? Is there a way for me to refresh this? See if it looks like this. I want it to have a little bit of style still. I prefer it to look like this, but then make it bigger. I can make the white a little bit more faded, and then maybe we can do something like this. Let's try this now. Wow, that looks weird, but it's bigger though. It's bigger, but it looks funky. Like, I feel like some messages would cover the whole space. Put this away from the... Okay, I think this is good enough. Yeah, I think this is good. But I feel like if I do it like this, I can't have any background at all. It looks weird with the background if I have it like this. Alright, so let me read. So Kiani said, yeah, see, without the background at all, it's weird. So let me try this. Nah, I don't like this. I don't even need to test that. I already know I don't like it. I think I want the white stuff there. It makes it easier for people to read it. So Kiani said the new story in Division is really good. Very hard bosses. They give you the feeling of being outnumbered very well. That's nice. I feel like that's like the Division like gameplay style. Now Mick says this is the message you see when character text each other in movies. Yes. Florida said it takes 1 out of 3 of your screen. It takes a lot of webcam away. Yeah, but bro, really, you don't want to look at it's my face. It's me you came to see. The chat's over there. It's okay. It's okay. I agree with you that it takes space in the camera screen, but like in this screen, other stuff take over me anyways. So like it's not. I shrink myself sometimes as well, so it's not that new basically that I have something else. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind the aesthetic though. I don't mind the aesthetic is my point. Oh wait, that's even Kiani who said it takes a lot of the webcam away. Bro, it's literally, there's nothing there. You're looking at a plug over here, man. The question is, why do you need it when we have already on the right side of our screen? Because you can't see what people are saying on YouTube without that. That's why. That's the reason why. What's up, Overdose? Yeah. Florida, you didn't realize that part, I guess. But basically this is here because people that are talking on YouTube, you can't see when they type unless I have this here. Unless you go and open my YouTube channel as well to see what they say. That's why it's here. That's literally why it's here. It's not because you guys can't read chat. It's because I'm not streaming on just Twitch. I'm streaming here and on YouTube. That's why. Then make them open YT. Brother, this is not about more viewers. Come on. If I'm responding to a message here, why? Come on. Yeah, nah. That's a little too much for me. That's a little too much for me. Naomi said the blue one looked good. Yeah, we'll see. There's a bunch of options for this, so we'll... Oh, wait a minute. It's cutting out some of the last messages. The last thing it has here is hey bud. Huh. I just realized it's not. Oh, it puts the newest messages on the top. Oh, I was confused. Okay. It's putting the newest message on the top. Okay, that makes sense now. Overdose, you should be on like summer break or something right now, right? Is the chat message gonna be in a small size in the corner of the screen for YouTube? The chat message gonna be in a small size in the corner of the screen for YouTube. I'm not sure what you mean. On YouTube, you should be seeing the exact same thing that's on here, from what I know. Yeah, from what I know, you should be seeing the exact same thing that I'm seeing. You stream less, but now on more platforms. Me confused? Yeah, because I'm basically, Kiani, I would stream more. I stream less Destiny I would stream more if I was not streaming Destiny, basically. So I'm streaming less Destiny, yes, but I want to stream more of just chatting. That's essentially what it is. So it's not that I just don't want to stream. No, I would be here. I would still stream. It's just I want to share what I want to share. However, I can't just share it to nobody, you know what I'm saying? In that case, I could just read to myself and be in my room by myself, you understand? And just read a book, read my Bible by myself. But the point is, I'm still trying to share myself with people. The difference is just what am I sharing myself, like in what's the avenue. And me streaming to more platforms is because I know that my community was built on gaming content, specifically Destiny content. And to find people who are gonna like the new contents that I'm gonna be doing, I need to, it's like as if I'm starting streaming afresh again. So trying to find new people is important. That's the goal, basically. I'm surprised. I shouldn't say I'm surprised. I understand why everybody's confused, because, you know, why not do D2 and gaming on this platform, then create white YouTube channel for just chatting? Because I don't want to do, basically the community doesn't want to play D2 anymore. So I'm just changing this channel to the Just Chatting channel. Hopefully that makes sense. Like, people don't show up for the raids anymore. People are bored of Destiny. So instead of me making a whole new channel, I might as well just do it here. And I think if I created a whole new YouTube channel for just chatting, you guys wouldn't even know where I am. You wouldn't even know that I'm live. So there are still some people within this community who would still like to chat with me, but I shouldn't just abandon them just because of the other stuff. Man, it is cold in this room. But it's okay. But yeah, it's a good thing. I appreciate the fact that you guys are asking questions about the things that you're confused about. But pretty much here's the lowdown, because I shared this with a few people yesterday. And I believe it's good for me to keep sharing it. So Destiny is a game that I've played for 5 years, and I've enjoyed hanging out and playing with you guys playing Destiny. Right now, over the years, Destiny has had its ups and downs, but regardless, we've always been here. We've always been playing Destiny, having a good time. Now Destiny is in one of those low times, and instead of me to just wait out that low period, there is something that I've always wanted to do, which is which is just talk to people. Right, like, you guys know, Florida knows this for sure. I come to stream and I just sit here and I'm chatting, and people are like, when is the gaming gonna start? When is the gaming gonna start? Because everybody realizes, like, that's really what I want to do. I want to come out here, hang out, and talk to you guys, you know, share some knowledge, learn some things from you guys. That's always been my passion. So what I'm doing now is, instead of me waiting on Destiny and hoping people will show up for Destiny and stuff like that, I just come here and I just chat, just talk. Yes, my major topic is going to be about things that have to do with my faith, but talking is there's so many different ways we could talk about that. I could spend a whole day talking about what it means to be agnostic, or what it means to be atheist, or what I think about Christianity, or what I think about, you know, so many things. And that's the point of what I want to do basically on the channel, is just come out here and chat. Now, of course, is there still Destiny to play? Sure, but I don't truly, a lot of people say it over and over, that the only reason they're still playing Destiny is because I stream. They don't really like playing Destiny, they're just playing it because I'll be there when they're playing it. So it's so we can all leave Destiny alone, let Destiny be its own thing. You know what I'm saying? And let's just hang out, because I think that this community is the community vibe is the main cornerstone of the stream. So essentially that's why now, maybe around 2 o'clock, depending on how this goes, as we grow, I'll probably put more and more time into it. But at 2 p.m. each day, I'm gonna come out here and I'm gonna just hang out. At some point during that stream, I'll share, something that I've seen maybe online or whatever, maybe watch a YouTube video, something that's faith related. Other than that, I'll probably maybe Fridays, then I'll give an opportunity that we would stream and we would just try to play Destiny. But so far, as you guys have seen, when I put up the sign up sheet for people to come and play Destiny, people don't even sign up for Destiny anymore, because truthfully, nobody really wants to play the game like that, so that's, I hope, clears up any confusion that people could have about why things are different. We're simply put, I'm gravitating towards something that I enjoy, and I believe, like everybody always says, if you do something that you enjoy, everybody will, people who would watch, people who wouldn't watch would watch. But be happy, make sure what you're doing makes you happy, and that's all I'm doing. So Florida said, are they tired of gaming or tired of running the same raids and not the new thing that are in the game? I'm asking, I haven't been around, just trying to understand. Well, here's the thing, right? Some people have it's not a one size fits all. Some people just started playing the game a week ago. Some people started playing 2 months ago. Some people, different people, different things. The main thing is not about the people that much, because I think for the people, they just want to hang out with the family. That's the goal. That's why people show up here. It's not really about the game. So whether today they might want to play, tomorrow they don't want to play, that's irrelevant. The what stays the same is the fact that people just want to hang out and have a good time, and that's what I'm focusing on more instead of the game. Because there's the me element of all of this, and I'm not interested in waiting on people to show up to do different things. And also the other part to it too is the way I feel like you're looking at it is you're looking at it from a job perspective. What do the customers want, and how can I provide the service that the customers want? I've decided not to look at that anymore. I'm not looking at this as a job that I need to do something for customers. I don't want to, that's not what I want the stream to be about anymore. It's not about a service that I provide and it's about me doing what I like, and people who like what I like get to have fun doing it with me. That's it. Some people would appreciate that, some people wouldn't, and that's okay. But I get your perspective. Your perspective is do people want, because you're asking me what would I do to be able to make sure that if somebody wanted to do a raid, so it's not about the community in its whole, you're tired of D2 and want to focus on you, which is understandable, and I'm fine with that. Yeah, it is. So it is about both. It is about both. It is about both still. I'm not saying that it's not about the community at all, because that's weird to say. The community got me where I am today. What the community wants is to, in terms of Destiny, number one, your question is, can I provide what the community wants? So all through since you've met me, have I ever been focused on what the community wants, or have I been focused on what I want to give? Because even with Destiny, right? If you say there's GMs, there's Master Nightfalls, there's whatever, how much of it did I do because people wanted it, and how much did I do because I believe it's what's useful for people? Sounds like I shouldn't make my debut back to D2. Hey, that if you make your debut back to D2, just don't make it because of me. You can do whatever you like, Overdose. You could do whatever you like. So, speaking about somebody like Overdose now, to answer your question, Florida, about it's not about the community. Overdose has always been a part of the community, but for half of the time when he spent in the community, he was playing PvP. He wasn't actually gaming with the community, but he was still a part of it. You know what I mean? So I think the way you're looking at it is like you're looking at it from like I said, it's still a business perspective, right? You come and you supply a service and you're looking at what is the interest of the people to provide that service. I'm not looking at it that way. I'm looking at it as what can I provide that's useful to people. Some people like what I provide, some people don't. You're saying, okay, well then change what you can provide. No, I don't have to, because it's not a business. You know? Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying. Like what I want always mattered. I just need there to be a clarity that it's not like what I want matters now. No, what I've wanted has always mattered, and people have either liked it or they haven't. That's just it. It's just a different thing. As far as I'm concerned, it's always been about what I'm willing to provide. Because if I provide everything, people will take everything. if I start giving out PS5s, people will take the PS5. If I start giving out PCs, people will take them. If I start giving out houses, people will take them. So it's not just when you look at it like from the community perspective, like, you know. But when you close one door and rebrand, you gotta expect what that comes with. Yeah, just like when you stay in the room, you gotta expect what's in the room as well. It's both ways, right? So you say when you close one door, there's a difference. Absolutely, I have my expectations, and like you heard earlier, that's why I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube, because I know that there's some people who are not going to be like, just like even Destiny. That's the thing you don't understand. It's like you're looking at it as closing a door. Me continuing to play Destiny 2 is also closing a door to Fortnite or Apex or whatever. So like I'm just trying to get you to like not be as tunnel visioned as you are, because I know how you're seeing it, but I'm trying to help you see it from multiple perspectives, because it looks like because I'm not playing Destiny now I'm closing the door. But no, if I play Destiny, I'm also closing the door. Everything is closing the door. Everything, no matter what it is, I'm closing the door to something. No, you're focusing on D2. I said exactly, that's what I'm saying. Everything, exactly. So it's not anything new is my point. This has always been the way that I've run things. Well, on that note, guys, yesterday we were watching a video. The video was about a certain YouTuber. I think it's called Rhett and Link. These two guys, one of them, they basically had I think it's called spiritual deconstruction is what they called it. And basically I was curious to hear, because they were Christians and they said basically my understanding is they've left the faith. At least they've stopped being Christians. Yesterday the question I was asking is, did they stop believing that there was a God, or did they just believe that God is somewhere else? And that's what I'm guessing we're gonna find out from the video, and that's what we're gonna watch today. I want to put the chat here as well, but I don't know how I'm gonna do that specifically. Let me see. Because I don't know where I'm gonna put it that it's not gonna be intrusive. If I put it there, I think it's a little too big. But if I put it here like this, I mean, for this video, I guess it works. I don't know. Maybe, okay. Nah, the sizes of these chat boxes can change, huh? He said, I need PS6. Yeah, like people are always gonna have needs, man. I'm not just gonna I've never been the streamer to just be like, whatever everybody needs, I'm gonna provide. That's not who I am. Let me okay, you know what? I'm gonna do this. And if someone types something in chat, it will pop up and we'll just have to see. Oh, someone just put in a new message. See, I don't want it to cut off the messages. That's the only thing. See, that one's been cut off right there. Please help me, guys. Type small messages. I wish it could change based off of how big the message is. It will just automatically. Sheesh, this is a long one. All right, there we go. But it starts from the top, eh? It is what it is. It's okay. We'll just leave it. If it's big, it's big. If it's small, that's going to be the maximum height. So you said there will be individuals who will be turned off by the shift in content towards Christian apologetics. While I won't be one of them, as I admire and highly respect the pivot, being Christian myself, I can also understand wholeheartedly why some would be put off. All one can do is pray for them. There will be individuals who will be turned off by the shift in content. Oh, okay. You typed the same thing on both sides. Okay, yeah, pretty much. I mean, again, that's the thing. Like me, I try to look at things from two perspectives. Ask my wife. That stuff probably. Oh, the music here is loud. 1 second. PC. So this is. That's why is that? Okay, let me change this real quick. So PC audio should be PC audio, browser audio, PC. Okay, so this should be PC music. Yeah, this should be okay, it's fine, but that should be PC music, and then the browser audio is this one. Okay. Oh, be careful with music on YT. That's true. Now I gotta think about which music is going where. That's true. I need to figure that one out as well. We'll see. Let me see. I think, yeah, we'll see. Once I do this stream, I'll be able to figure out what I'm gonna do with it. Or did I? No, you didn't miss here. Yep, I do have a wife, and I do discuss the double side. So basically, right, all I'm trying to say with that point is, when people see me playing a different game, if we use it as a different game, I tried to use this analogy yesterday, but it confused some people, so hopefully it doesn't confuse people again today. But if I switched and I played a different game, some people would like it, some people wouldn't. Just like in the past, people have been on this channel when I've played God of War, I've played Wukong, I've played all these things. People have different views on those things. Also, with playing monetized videos in your stream without permission, it's a different beast. Yeah, well, once all of that happens, you know, we can learn from all that. I just right now right now I'm just going with the flow, you know what I mean? But yeah, pretty much I just want everybody to look at this as it's a different thing that I'm doing. I've done different things on the channels before. Some people would like it, some people wouldn't, you know, and because majority of people like something, it doesn't even mean that I should keep doing that said thing, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, like, I'm big on people appreciating what I'm doing and what I'm offering having value. So it all comes down to, do I feel like I'm providing value? Are people enjoying the value I'm providing? And if there's even at least one person, if I come here and I'm streaming to one person, two people every day that are interested in what I'm doing, and I believe that I'm providing value to them, I'll be okay. The problem that I've seen with Destiny is there are a lot of times where I end up feeling like I'm not providing value, and some people are not appreciating the value, the thing that I'm providing. Even if you don't appreciate it, if I'm still providing value, you know what I mean? Like I can sleep well knowing that I'm providing value. That's the whole point of everything. But yeah, we're gonna kick it with this video for a little bit and see what he has to say. Yesterday, what we got from, I mean, we barely got into the video because we got to 23 minutes, but basically this guy said he's someone who was a part of a crusade group. He used to go and evangelize to people, and he could understand the idea behind how people could believe in Christ in their lowest moments, because let's say someone just comes out of a club, or someone's on spring break and they've been drinking for days, they start to feel this emptiness in them because they feel like all the things that they're attempting to do, nobody really, like, they're attempting to fill themselves up, fill up that void. It just results in more emptiness. And the idea is like, well, when people are in those moments, that's when they're most likely going to actually realize that most of the things that they're doing that they believe bring pleasure for them doesn't actually bring the pleasure that they think it does. And in that moment, when you tell someone that, okay, well, I could tell you that there is something more to life, and that thing that's more to life is that thing that's more about life is Jesus. In that moment, sure, his point is you're vulnerable, so of course you'll accept it. You need something to fill that void anyways. I guess my counter argument as of yesterday was, so fine, if you find something good in your lowest moment and it makes you feel that you are not complete, well, when you are in your highest moment again, and you have clarity again, you should just be like, oh, oops, I didn't feel that way anyways, it's nothing, and you just move on with your day. If it was just only something that you could realize in your lowest moment. Or maybe some people actually do experience Christ, and that's the reason why they stay Christians, even if they were met at their lowest moment, you know. But I think one thing that most people can agree on is the fact that, like, a lot of people do a lot of things to try to make themselves happy, to feel good, and they end up feeling nothing. That's something I think a lot of people can disagree on. A lot of people can agree on that. There are a lot of things. You wake up every morning, you go to school, or you go to work, or you, whatever it is that you do, it feels like it's not complete. It feels like it feels empty in a sense. And if most people are looking to try to fill that void, I believe that the only thing that can fill that void is God. But some people feel like, well, I don't think there is a God, so it doesn't really matter. I just can't feel it. Life just sucks. Let's just deal with it. It is what it is, you know. And I guess that's the point of everything, of what I'm sharing, is just the simple question: what if what I'm saying is the truth? It might be hard to find out what the truth is, or to prove it 100% for some people, but what if it is the truth? Well, let's hear a little bit of what this guy has to say.
With that particular belief that you held that most Protestants would.
Now that I use Monday service, AI makes solving tickets my form of meditation.
Sort of disagree with you about.
What I would say is we called ourselves non-denominational, but from a theological perspective, we would have most aligned with just the Baptist Church.
Sure.
So we were probably a little bit more Reformed Baptist, right? So there was a strong, not as strong as you would have in like a PCA church, a Presbyterian church in America, about predestination. Mm-hmm. But, we were kind of soft Calvinists, like 4-point Calvinists, And so we definitely believe that God had predetermined essentially who was his child, which was interesting to do in the context of evangelism.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, how does that affect when you go onto the beach and spring break and you're talking to people? Do you just have this thought like, well, I hope I happen to bump into the people?
That's a very, 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 very big misconception. When people talk about predestination, there's a understanding that people have from that. By the way, if you're wondering what predestination means, it basically means if you believe that God has already decided who's going to heaven and who's going to hell. That's what people think that predestination means. The scriptures that they're referring to, I'm gonna try to I'm gonna read your message in a second, Florida. I'm gonna see if I can find the scripture that they're talking about that they refer to that makes them feel that way. And I can use it to explain, but I'll explain what that actually means. Actually, maybe I can just open it. I think it's better to just open it. Let's see. Let me try to find it real quick. Okay. But before I look that up, let me read Florida's message. Florida said people are trying to fill a void because most of them are part-time Christians. They say I go to church, then turn around on curse or walk past someone in need. Most people ask for God to help to fix a problem they created, and if they were to live as a Christian, most of the problems wouldn't have happened. Okay, and that's a good point that you just brought up, is that there are some people who can profess Christianity who are not actually Christians. Because me, I think when we talk about Christians, we're not just talking about people who profess Christianity. We're talking about people who are actually born again. And I think, and having said that, I don't think that there's part-time Christianity, because you can't take, basically, I'm just trying to put it in use better words, Florida, because I know what you mean. I'm just trying to make it clearer, because it's either you're saved or you're not. It's either God is doing a new work in your heart or not. There's no God is doing half work in your heart. You know what I mean? So for people who don't have that regenerated spirit, of course, you will still keep doing the things that you've done. It doesn't matter if you profess Christianity or not. And then I wanted to take a difference between people who profess Christianity and people who are actually saved, because not everybody that professes Christianity is actually saved. Even based on what you said in terms of like actions, some people do good things without actually being saved. You can help someone in need, you can stop cursing and not be saved. You know what I'm saying? You can make a choice to do good things. It doesn't mean you're saved. However, changing is as a result of truly being saved. So that's my point, is like, yes, can you do good things and be saved? Yes. Can you do good things and not be saved? Yes. Can you do bad things and not be saved? Yes. The only one thing is you can't consistently live in sin if you have that renewed mind. It's just, you just won't, because and before I get into too many things, I'll just leave it at that. You won't. But I agree with you that a lot of people profess Christianity, and that if you go by that logic, then even if they did things better, their problem might not be solved because they're still not saved, because the problem is bigger than just being saved or not. The problem is bigger than just doing good things or not doing good things, or getting good things done to you and not. Bro, Florida, me and you know our lives personally. There are things that are happening to us that are not good. You know what I'm saying? So because you are born again does not result in you having good things happen to you all the time, right? So like, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's layers to all of this. But yeah, what was it that I was trying to look up is why people say that oh yeah, predetermined. I think it's in Corinthians. I mean, I can't, maybe I'll put that as my project for the day, because I actually want to find the verse and explain the verse, because the reality of it is, because God knows you're going to do something doesn't mean that he made you do it. And that's where people make a mistake, is God knows everything. It doesn't mean that he stops your free will and he's just going to choose who is and who is not. He's just aware of the people who would accept him and the people who wouldn't. Because it's the Bible says is that my goal is that all should come to the knowledge of him, of me. That's that. I'm gonna see. Come to the knowledge of the truth. Yeah, so that's 1 Timothy 2:4. Let me did I miss it? Huh? Okay, why am I missing it then? Oh, okay. So I guess I'll read it from the start. So it says, first of all, then, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all who are in high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way. This is good, and it is pleasing in the sight of God our Savior, who desires all people to be saved. So if it was that God has already decided who's going to heaven and who's going to hell, he wouldn't be desiring that everybody will be saved. He desires that all will be saved, but he also knows that some people wouldn't. So that's the point of this right here, is God desires that all will be saved. However, not everyone is going to answer that call. So he has knowledge that of all the people that he called, those are the chosen ones, because I believe they're talking about the verse which says, for those who are called he has chosen, for those who he has chosen he has. That verse, it's talking about God knowing, not about him choosing it, because the idea that he's already chosen some people and condemned some people, that just brings about lack of free will, basically. Let me catch up with chat a little bit. But so this is why the prosperity faith is so destructive and harmful to the easily impressionable but are hungry for a relationship with the Lord. This is why it's falling from grace and the young folks aren't like us. You have to walk the walk in order to talk the talk. But there is need in them for a return to the Creator, to his ways. We see this wanting in them, this endemic hurt in their hearts, but they're seeking the wrong things to assist them with mending their broken hearts. And I mean, that goes even furthermore. It's you keep seeing people keep trying these same things and it keeps on not working. So that's my thing. It's like people keep trying things and it just doesn't work. It keeps on not working, you know. So my question is, why not try something else? So let me see. So Florida said the problem is people will sit down, see something on social media, he'll have the story and run with it with no context on and believe it till the end. It's like Stevie Wonder during Ray Charles. I don't know what that means, but I agree. A lot of people just, like even me right now, that's why I'm avoiding sharing something to you guys without showing you what the Bible actually says about it, because I don't want anybody to just say, oh, well, I think Femi is a smart guy. He said this, so it's probably true. I cannot just become another social media person who just tells you this is what it is. No, you can read it for yourself and you can see for yourself that that's what it means and that's what it says. Mario said, I love that analogy. The blind certainly cannot lead the blind. Oh, I just realized that means you guys can also not respond to the text of people's chats that you see. Like you won't see each other's chats. I guess you would on the stream, actually. That's the other reason. I guess that's where this becomes good, because then you can see what the person is saying, responding to what you're saying, even if you guys are on YouTube and Twitch. There are many progressive narratives, such as the myth of the world wars, that are collapsing upon themselves. For example, people want the truth, and the only truth is the only truth as a Christian. There's no. You can take out those brackets. The only truth is Christ Jesus. Is not as a Christian. You don't have to patronize anybody. You can call it as it is. Oh my goodness. So, Overdose, were you asking about what the myth of the world wars is? Like this hot girl summer movement is just the Jezebel life, but when you tell them that it doesn't apply, what does it mean to find Jesus Christ? Oh, that's what you were asking about. Okay. My heart is broken whenever I see the young women fall into that trap lifestyle. Yeah, so Overdose, you're asking what does it mean to find Jesus Christ? I want to give Mario a chance to respond, and then I'll respond as well. Because he's the one that made the statement. But if he's not able to answer, maybe he stepped away or something, I'll answer you what it means to find Jesus. But while we're doing that, I imagine he's typing up a storm. Yeah. I mean, I'll summarize to you what finding Jesus is. It's coming to the knowledge of the truth. Because like I've told people in previous days, right? As much as there are different stories, there's only one truth. Only one thing actually happened. And if you try to look into history, for example, if you're someone that looks into history, or because there are different ways that you can come to that knowledge of who Jesus is. It could be because you tried to search into history. Like I said, people can do. Look it up, see if there was someone who actually existed that was called Jesus, because if that person actually existed, now there's a reason for you to try to understand, wait, if this person actually existed, why is he so important? Why are people actually talking about him for this long? What did he do? What did he say? What did he write? And there's a moment when you actually realize, not because of anything that you do personally, not because of even that history that you checked, it's just when you're searching for who God is, there's a moment where you realize that Jesus is the truth, that's helped by the Holy Spirit to be able to help you know. And that moment when you are looking for that truth and God meets you halfway, that's what we mean by finding Christ, because now you know who God is. It's not an idea. It's not a storybook. It's not something people told you. It's not something your dad told you. It's not something you were brought up as. Because you could be brought up to do anything, to say anything. But when there's a moment where you now know that you know what the truth about God is. And when that happens, that's what it means that you've come to the knowledge of Christ. Or as he said it, that you found Jesus Christ. Because everybody, like I said before, everybody is always consistently trying to fill a void in their lives. They're trying to find purpose. They're trying to find something. That something is the fact that there is at least from the Bible, you can see the Bible says that God has already written eternal life on the hearts of every man, so that it's not something where people can come and say at the end of the life they have never had an idea that there was God. No, he's written it on everybody's life that there's something that's going to happen after we all die. So now everybody's searching for what that thing is, and I'm trying to share what I know about who God is so that people can accept the gift that God is trying to give everybody. Because the gift God is trying to give everybody is a chance to not suffer forever. Even though that's what we deserve, he's trying to give us a chance to come out of it. That's, my shortest version of it is finding Christ is finding God and finding out what the truth is.
And to flourish.
Yeah.
And that's not up to me. I'm just the one that's planting the seeds.
But then if it's not up to you, is it like if you don't plant those seeds, then
they wouldn't get saved?
They wouldn't get saved? I mean, it kind of seems that this whole predestination idea seems to undermine the motivation for going.
Oh, I really, this was probably my key, like, theological conundrum in college, because I was close with guys who were Reformed in this way, and were Calvinists, and they would be like, listen, it's just very clear in the scriptures that...
Oh, he just used the term you used, Calvinists. I think I looked it up yesterday as well. I thought they have other beliefs as well. I think they talk about I don't know what their other belief is, but all right, let me read a little bit. So Florida said people are inherently selfish and only concerned about themselves. For example, kids these days say, I don't eat this or that, but it's kids in less fortunate situations that would be happy to have what you feel as is less than for you. Yeah, but there are some people, there's a friend of mine who always says that one man's prayers is says one man's problem is another man's prayers. Like, there's some people who look at you and they just wish they could just be in your shoes, but that's your shoes. You think you're in problem. So yeah, anyways, I don't think I could ever find myself in religion, but Jesus is pretty cool. I think, like I said, when you're talking about finding yourself, like I said, it's not about you finding yourself. It's about you finding out what the truth is about who created you. So, and what's going to happen to you when you die. And yes, you might not feel like you could find yourself, but I'm not even asking you to find yourself. I'm asking you to find the truth. What is true? Because it doesn't matter what you like, what you end up doing or what you end up believing, that kind of stuff. That's different. But what matters is if you can find out what the truth is so that you can follow what is true. You know what I mean? Like, let's say, for example, you're buying stocks and you're buying stocks in a company that's about to break down, everybody else knows that it's about to break down, or say some people know that it's about to go downhill. I hope you know what stocks is, and it's not too big of an example, but basically you're buying stocks and you believe that, you know, you're going to get more money from this thing that you've bought. It doesn't matter whether you believe you're going to get money from it. If the truth is that that stock is about to crash and you're about to lose your money, that's what you want to know, is the truth. Not whether you believe it or how many people believe it or how many people don't believe it. All you really care about is whether you know the truth or not, because that's what's going to determine whether you're going to be able to take out your money or keep it in there, whether you're going to lose your money, gain more money, or save your money, you know. So that's what I mean. Like, yes, you might not think you'll be able to find yourself in religion, but that's not as important as if God exists and he has set out a bunch of laws, a rule that there's only one way that you, first of all, there's only one way you're going to have a relationship with your creator. And there's only one way that you can stay with that creator. Then that's it. It's the rule. If he said that and that's the rule, that's it. You just want to know that that's true so that you can do it and you can have that relationship with him. Interested in philosophy. I'm keen on existentialism myself. I'm not sure what that is specifically, but Overdose said something about stoicism. I could look that up real quick. Stoicism. So it says Stoicism is a philosophical school that emphasizes virtue, living in accordance with nature, and accepting what you cannot control. It focuses on cultivating inner strength. This is just AI. I'm just telling you. You tell me if that's what you're talking about. It focuses on cultivating inner strength and resilience to navigate life's challenges. Stoics believe that happiness and well-being come from developing positive character traits like wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. So this again goes to my point of, yes, you can do good things. Okay, yeah. So obviously you can do good things. You can be a good person based on your moral standard, whatever you define as your moral standard. But all of that doesn't matter if there is a truth that you don't know. I don't know if you understand my point. Like, you can try to do a good thing. You could try to be nice to other people. You could try to talk nice to other people. But even you know that in all of that attempt, you still do a lot of wrong stuff every single day. Even based on this logic, no matter how you talk about justice, courage, all these things, you still end up doing a lot of things that you know, based on the code of stoicism, if that's the way to put it, that is still against that. So my point is, okay, so what is true about what decides if you are good or not? You can't just create your own moral standard. Well, you can create your moral standard, but if there is a true standard, a true rule, it doesn't matter what you've created or what you follow. The question is just, what is the truth? I hope that explains like what I'm trying to say here. I understand your point that people can try to do good. Similarly to what Florida brought up earlier, you can see somebody on the side of the road and you can help them. And that is attributed as a good deed that you did for that person. But no matter how many good deeds you do in your life, if there is a system that has been set outside of what you believe, and it's actually true, aka if there is God and he has set out a rule, for example, he said you should not lie. The moment you've lied, that one time, you've become a liar. Just an example, right? You've become a liar, because if I ask you, what do you call someone who lies? You would say it's a liar. Simple. There's no he's a liar. Whether he lied 2 days ago, 1 day ago, he's a liar. That's what you call someone who lies. So my point is, if there's a rules that's been set, that if you do this, this is your punishment. just like I use the court of law example a lot. If you do nice things from now for the next 30 years, and in your 50s, in your 40s, in your close to your 50s, you hurt someone, you can't just say that because you've been doing good your whole time, that means that that person that you hurt, let's say the person let's say you steal something. You can't say you don't deserve the penalty for stealing just because you've been doing nice things all your life. It wouldn't matter. Just like it wouldn't matter in a court of law because there's a ruling for that court. For God, there's also a ruling. And I'm just saying, you might want to know what that ruling is, because if you don't, just like in a courtroom, you are going to get the sentence that has been due to you. Simple. There's no whatever you believe is the good things, or how you were brought up, or how many people old ladies you helped walk across the street. All of that's not going to matter when you get to the court for the things that you've done wrong, because they don't judge you. They don't bring you to court for the things you've done good. If you just do nice things, nobody's giving you a car at the court because of all the good things you did. That's not why they call it. You're only gonna go to that court for the things that you did wrong, and based on the things that you did wrong, there's a punishment for it. And if you want to escape that punishment, there's only one way. So if you remember when Mario said Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, it's because he means there's only one way that you get out of that punishment that's due to you. And it's because that person that I talked about in history, Jesus, existed at some point, and the only reason why he came on this earth is to give you a chance to not get that penalty that's due to you. He took it upon himself so that you don't have to get that penalty, and that's the only way. He said that's the only way, period. So if he is true, you're getting that punishment unless he takes the punishment for you. That's it. If he's correct, it's literally that simple. If he's right, and that's why I'm saying maybe you want to know the truth, because if you don't know the truth, then you don't know that. Well, now you know. If what I'm saying is the truth, now you know. So there's no even excuse that you never heard it. You could say you didn't believe it, or you didn't believe it, but you understand what I'm saying, basically. And now you have to decide, is it true or not? All right. Let's see. That's a very lame. Existentialism is a philosophy focusing on one's purpose in life, the many choices and decisions we make that inform our disposition. Okay, that basically, like, so the purpose of your existence, that's how I would phrase what you said. Okay, so moral ambiguity is one of the biggest threats to our species, society, easily. I'm super strong against drunk driving, as I have lost 2 sisters to drunk drivers, and I feel any who drinks and drives should be held accountable. Even if it's my own kids, I tell them, don't call me if you get arrested for drunk driving. But most people who lose someone to drunk driving will be like, hang them on the cross. Then a year later, their loved one hits someone and they want sympathy. That there are a lot of people who are two-faced, yeah. Moral relativism frightens me. Therein lies the dilemma. Live long enough and even the heroes become the villains. Accountability is the one thing that a lot of people run from. It's always followed by an excuse instead of owning it. I actually wonder what you would say about this, because I was talking to Screw about this yesterday, and I hope he shows up because I gave him something that I wanted him to like ponder on. But basically, I was speaking to him about the fact that, okay, let's say I'm talking to him about life in general. Yo, what's up, Destroyer? I'm talking to him about life, right? So you live your life, everything that you've done in your life, the decisions that you've made is going to determine whether when your life ends, you're going to heaven or hell. Okay. Now, he mentioned that, well, if I live my life and I do the best that I can do, and I didn't, I wasn't able to, I didn't believe in Christ or I didn't believe in God, but I tried my best. When that time comes, even if I go to hell, I'm okay with it because I tried my best. And I said, well, there's only one issue I see with that statement. And that issue to me is the fact that if that, what happens after is eternal, so it happens forever, I believe that you're going to be regretting for the rest of your life. Regret is one of the worst feelings that you can have. And if you have constant regret for the rest of your life, that sucks. And he said, well, I don't think that I would, he said, I don't think I would regret. I think it's better to just own your actions. Now, I'm going to stop it there because I want to give him a fair chance for what you think, because, you know, we're talking about owning your actions, right? But I know what you mean is different from what we're talking about here. By the way, I'm not putting both of them as the same thing. I'm just bringing this idea because it's literally the same words. And I said, well, there's a lot of people who believe in this owning your actions, but I believe the only reason they have that whole owning your actions mentality is because they're saying you just focus on the next step. You just focus on how you can come out of it. You just focus on the next thing. You know, that's what you do. You don't have to regret because you just look forward instead. I was trying to tell him, well, there's no look forward. It's not, if you couldn't look forward, that's the part I'm trying to bring to your mind, is there is no forward to look to. There's just what you've done and constant repercussion for your actions. There's nothing to look forward to. To not regret is easy when you have something to look forward to. And that was my statement on it. I want to know what you have to say. So you said people only regret when they find out it was a better choice, which leads back to selfishness. People only regret when they find out it was like what they didn't choose was a better choice, which leads back to selfishness. I don't get how selfishness wraps into it though. Yeah, I don't get that part. Because, so do you think that there would be regret? Do you think there will be regret? I guess is my first question to you. Because it sounds like you're saying because they could have had something better. Okay. So how is it selfish? Let me look up selfish real quick. Because now I'm like a little, I feel like I don't understand. Because from my understanding, selfish is something that's bad. It's not just, yeah. So that's the thing, Florida. Do you regret anything now? No. Right? No, you don't regret anything. So I actually believe you have the same mindset of Screw. But remember, again, you see what you just said. You said, I regret nothing. I live with my choices. I'm talking about if you now put that in the end of this station, because I feel like every time anybody says they don't regret, they always want to tell me how they move on. What if there is no moving on? It's just, that's just it. You're there at that point. Boom, right there. It's just, that's it. Once you get to that point where you realize that's it, there's no moving forward. Do you think you would? Because, like, for example, like, I guess the kind of question I'm trying to ask is, for any moment in your life ever, have you ever wished something was like have you ever regretted ever? Like, ever? Has it ever happened? Even if it's for a split second, like just any time before, have you ever regretted something? I'm going to ask you that in two questions. Have you ever regretted something? And have you ever felt for a split second a regret since you've had this mentality? So those are the two splits, right? Because I think you could have regretted as a kid, right? Which I'm guessing you have. I think you might have. But then I'm also asking, since you've had this mentality, even if it's for a nanomillisecond, you've thought about something that you could have done. Because also, if you didn't think about how you could have changed things, you can't improve. You won't be able to move forward. Like, you need to look at what you have. Okay, good. I want to make sure I understand your perspective properly. That's why I'm asking that question. Because I feel like you would even you right now, I feel like you learn from the things you've done in the past, right? So you look back and you're like, okay, this is the decision I made. Fine, I own it, but I'm going to make sure I don't make that same decision again. Now, if you're trying to look at the word regret, I believe that that's what regret is thinking of something that you could have changed and how you could have changed it, unless I don't understand what the word regret means. There's some okay, yeah, so selfish, lacking consideration for others. Yeah, because this is not, when you say selfish is lacking consideration of others, I don't think if I made choices that I could have changed, that's not selfish, because it has nothing to do with anybody else. So that's why I'm wondering how selfishness ties into that. But yeah, that's why you lost me on the selfish bit, because I was like, what is... Yeah, you see, exactly what Mario is saying. Like, my grandfather used to say, stop being sorry and start doing, right? I'm just trying to create it, because the scenario we're talking about, there's no start doing. You can't do anything about it no more. And the idea that if you can't change anything moving forward, that you wouldn't only look back is crazy. To me, I don't see how that's possible, honestly. Like me saying, I wish I would have picked that box and won 1 million. The box I picked had 950K, always wants more. Oh, okay. So I don't think you can engage in the thing I'm talking about, because I guess technically you're in the same boat as what Screw is saying. Because we're talking about heaven and hell here. You're talking about 950K and 1 mil. It's not the same thing, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm talking about, like, yeah. We're talking about different things at this point. But I guess you can't you've lived your life in a certain way all through, that you can't actually contextualize what I'm trying to say, I feel like. Because I feel like there's people who always look forward. No matter what happens, they always look forward. So for me to tell you, what if there is no forward to look at? People can't do that because they've always believed I can always look forward. But I'm trying to put a thought process of what if you can't, and it's hard for you guys to like think in that line. Because even when I talk about two options, you talk 950K and 1 mil, that's the option you use. No, but like 950K, using 950K, if anything, you should have said 1 mil and losing all your life savings and the life savings of all your family members. like to use 950 and 1 mil. People only look forward when it's something. No, they look to hopefully get. That's what you said. You say you look to, you don't regret because, how did you say it? Yeah, you said, I regret nothing because I live with my choices. So you is looking at it as per, where you can move to. What he meant by that is, in essence, stop feeling guilty about what's been done or has transpired and push forward. I agree with you in your assertion, but I think there's also wisdom in that. There is, Mario. Let me be as clear as I can be. Mario. I agree that while you're living on this earth and you can still look forward, make sure you're moving forward and not looking back. I agree 100%, but that's not what we're talking about. If you're dead and you're either in heaven or hell, I'm saying I don't believe the same rule applies, because you will feel guilty because there's no push forward. So these things you guys keep saying about push forward, look forward, all those things, there's no other option. There's nothing to, all you're stuck in is the repercussion of your action. Because even on this earth, yes, if you've made bad decisions in your life and you've lost a leg and a limb and an eye, you can still look forward because maybe you can still make something out of your situation. I get that. Don't get me wrong. Always keep pushing forward. Don't sit in regret, because tomorrow is still another chance to change something. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you can't do nothing moving forward. Yeah. I've been trying to create the context this whole time, because the context was about life has happened, life has ended. Everything you've done in your life decides what you end up, what ends up happening to you. It's not even what you do. Even the idea that you change, you are the one that's doing something, you lose control. There's no more you and your ability to change. All you're dealing with is the consequences of your actions. Period. And to say that in that moment you wouldn't be regretting when you can't change the future, but you can't focus on death where you're living. Damn it. Sorry, excuse me. What? I'm not asking you to focus on death. I'm asking you a question about death. It's like I ask you, how do you fry eggs? And you say you can't focus on eggs in the morning. I just want to know how to fry the egg. Just tell me how to fry the egg. I'm not thinking about egg all day. I'm saying focus on egg all day. I'm just saying, tell me how to make an egg. Like, I'm not asking you to focus on death. I'm just asking you, if you were dead, what do you think you would do? What do you think you would feel in that situation if you could think about it? You know what I'm saying? Hope you're good, Fillmore. That's it. Like, you making it seem like I'm trying to make you focus on death when you're leaving. That's not what it's about. I'm not asking about death when you're leaving. I'm asking you about death when you're dead. Like, you're asking me, would I feel bad when I'm dead and I can't change what I did when I was alive? Yes. Do you think you would feel bad when you're dead? When you can't change it anymore? Do you think you would feel bad? That's what I'm asking. Yes. And whatever that your answer is, yes or no, I'd like to know your reasoning behind it. I'm saying, just like, don't throw away the question like it doesn't exist. Just, I want to know what you would like. Okay, put yourself in that position. What do you think you would feel and why? That's what I want to know. Don't worry, I'm not trying to make you focus on death forever, just for a second. You wouldn't feel bad and because you can't change it. So what do you think you would feel then? That's my last question. So what do you think you would feel? Because the alternative of it is good, of bad is good. I'm sure it's not good. So I'm wondering what you think you would feel. Or you just wouldn't feel. Anger, maybe? Maybe like what Fillmore said. Anger, what do you think you would feel? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's all I needed to hear. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And how we perceive that statement you just made is just different. That's all I realized. Because I think everybody will feel that. And that's how what that thing you just described is, I think we just call it different names. That's all. Because when someone feels like, I made my bed, well, now it's time for me to lay in it. That feeling right there, I call it regret. Would you call hell a lifetime of misery? Florida, would you call hell a lifetime of misery? Is that a good description of hell? Is that a good description of hell? Because I think that's a really good description. In fact, if I add it, pain and a lifetime of misery. I would say that that's hell you just described right there. That's why I'm saying you would regret, because that's all you can feel. That's it. I don't think there's any other option. I don't know why we're trying to make something good out of it. There's nothing good out of it. There's literally nothing good out of it. It's just gonna be that. Everything you're saying. It wouldn't change it. You can't change it. So you're just stuck with regret. You can't change it. You're stuck there. It's just, you're stuck. It wouldn't change, but you're stuck in a state of regret because now you can't change it. That's what I'm saying. Because you regret something doesn't mean you can change it. In fact, the only reason you don't regret is because you can do something to change it. That's the reason you shouldn't regret. So when you can't do something to change it, you're just stuck with regret. That's all you've got. Because like I said, the only reason, just hear me one more time. The only reason people don't regret is because they can change the situation. So if you can't change the situation, all you've got is regret. That's my point.
He who he predestines, he predestines. It's like, and so I remember sitting on the porch one time with my friends as we were talking about that. I said, okay, well, all right, if I want to believe the Bible, and again, of course I bought into univocality, and I was able to reinterpret the passages that would question this perspective in light of the ones that I had gravitated towards, which is how you build, a systematic theology to begin with. But I remember sitting with them and saying, okay, I can agree that God preordained a certain number of people to be his children, which definitely means that a certain number of people are not predestined to be his children. In fact, statistically
this
speaking,
guy right now is literally talking about he's talking about a different religion that's not Christianity, just so you know. This ideology comes from a different religion, and I know the religion, I just don't want to talk about it.
Majority of people who've ever lived and live right now, and they're going to be in hell. So I believe that because the Bible says it. But
yes, this is Rhett from the Rhett and Link show, morning something show. Yeah. That's who. Yeah, Kiani, that's who he is. See, I'm not a crybaby, nor do I have a crybaby mentality. Regret is a crybaby mentality. I wish this and that, but when you had a choice, you made it. Now you want something different. If you wanted something different, then you should have made different choices. Accountability. I think the only word that I would change there is not want. It's not a want. It's a wish. Again, that's why people learn from their actions, is because you look at what you did, how you did it wrong, and you project how to not make that mistake again normally. So it's still a wish. It's still a wish that if you get an opportunity like that again, you won't make the same mistake. It's still a hope. It's based. It's not that you just want something different to have happened then. No. It's you wish you knew what you know now then, so that you could have changed the outcome. But now, then you say, but now I know it now. I can change it now, so I will change it now. But you would still look at that situation. That's how you learn. There's no way if you just ignore things that happened in the past, then that means you don't learn from it. So to learn from it, you need to address it. You need to quantify it. And then you try to make sure you do something better later. But there's no way you don't think about those things in the past and think about how you made a wrong decision. If you didn't think about how you made a wrong decision, then you think your decision is right. Then you just keep doing the same thing over and over again. Like, you have to think about it, think that what you did is wrong, and then there's hope of you doing it differently if the situation presents itself again. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Like, is simply put, you're accountable. Fine, you're accountable now, but your accountability means nothing. In this scenario we're talking about, your accountability means nothing. It's useless. So, like, there's no, like, the way I understand how your outlook on life is great. I appreciate it. It's good. That's how you should look at things in life. In death, you can't use the same approach, is what I'm saying, because in death, you can't make different choices. You've done what you've done. You had the opportunity to change the things that you did. Yes, you own it, but you have no choice to own it. Because that's the way, you know how you talk about accountability, because this all started because you said you own your actions. Owning your actions, you don't have a choice. You're owning it already. Everybody owns it. Everybody owns it. It's not a thing you choose. Everybody's owning it because you're reaping the fruit of your actions already. You say it like, I'm gonna be accountable. No, nobody's gonna be accountable. No, sorry, rather, nobody's gonna make the decision. You're accountable already. You're already accountable. It's like someone who, like, I don't know, but yeah. Once defined have a desire to possess or do something wished for. Yeah, well, I'm just making sure you see it as wishing, because if you see, that's because that's why I'm saying I'll replace the word. You say, but when you have made a choice, you made it, now you want something different. You will wish something different. There's like, literally, that's how you learn from your actions, brother. But we can leave it at that. I think, like I said, where we see things differently, and that's why you don't see my point. Because I agree with you that in life, there's a certain outlook that you have on life that you should keep having. I share the same thing in life. But in death, I don't believe you can have the same outlook, because while you're still alive, you can make different decisions. And that's the reason why it's easy to not regret. You just move on. In death, there's no moving on. And that's the separation I'm trying to make.
And I like paused because I was a little bit nervous. I was like, but doesn't that kind of make God an asshole? And they were like, no. He's just like, you can't understand. First of all, we all deserve to be in hell. Mm. The fact that he would save, he's justified in not saving anyone.
Yeah, that's the line, isn't it?
And so then I was like, yeah, but he decided to create a world in which these beings would exist. Like, he still made that choice. Doesn't that still kind of make him an asshole? So I was having thoughts like that at like 20 years old, but was able to continue to carry like a cognitive dissonance that allowed me to still be a very strong Christian and just be like, okay, there are things that I don't understand. God's got that figured out. That'll be the first question I ask him when I get to heaven.
Yeah. And of course, there's no Christian who doesn't have thoughts like that swimming around in their minds too. It's, for some people, those are questions that they just retain. And like you say, think, I'll ask God when I see him. Mm. For others, it's like the first domino falling apart. I'm interested in what your view of hell was at the time when you said that most people are probably going to hell. What did you think hell was at the time when you were around 20?
I had talked myself into, mostly as a result of that struggle I was having, that it was probably some sort of, I basically became, without really reading too much about it, an annihilationist.
Yeah.
And so just the idea that people who don't know God, who are not his children, will probably go through some sort of torment, but it won't be forever, and then they will cease to exist.
Yeah, and that hell is, I mean, annihilationism is the view that people will be annihilated if they don't go to heaven. They sort of cease to exist, maybe after a period of suffering of some sort. I've always been quite attracted to that idea because of the like classical Thomistic arguments for the existence of God, which have God as like the ground of being.
Mm-hmm.
If God is the foundation of being itself and everything that is participates in him, then if hell is something like separation from God, and if God is the ground of all being, then what does it mean to not be with God? It means to not be. It means to not exist.
Yeah, right.
So I've always thought philosophically there's good grounding for considering separation with God to be the same thing as not existing. Because to exist is to participate in God's existence, as some of the classical philosophers would put it.
Yeah.
But that's not as motivational as the fire and brimstone imagery. And presumably in your outreach, you wouldn't push too heavy on the hell stuff, especially considering that you thought most people were going there anyway and there's nothing they can do about
right. And I think that it's interesting.
That's interesting. Talking about distance from God. I guess the difference is it just doesn't stop at just distance from God. Because you can distance yourself from God even on earth. So distance from God is not all that there is to it. Let me see.
To see. I'm still a fan of Christian apologetics. It's fascinating to me to see the way that, and especially now, I there wasn't nearly as much just apologetics media as there is now when I was deconstructing, because this mostly happened to me in the late aughts and 2010, 2011. And nobody was there were people writing books, but nobody was making internet content about this stuff. But I kind of dip in and dip out, and to see the way the conversation around hell is evolving is fascinating, because it is a really, it's like if you've got if you're selling a product, it's like the one thing where we get all the bad reviews about this. It's like, shit, people keep talking about this one thing, and it's the hell thing. So how do we rebrand hell? And the way that hell is being rebranded is smart.
What's up, Logan? No, I didn't plan on it. I don't know. I don't even know who Jordan Peterson is.
Annihilationism, but also there are people who just frame it as separation from God. It's just simply like you rejected.
I'm planning on watching Rhett's deconstruction.
So now you just are going to be on your own.
That's what I'm planning on watching
deal with your own
next.
stuff. And it sounds a lot nicer. It just sounds like you're just rejecting something.
One Christian versus 28. I could put that on a list. I could create a list of stuff that I'm going to watch.
Point.
Yeah. What, I mean, maybe this was one of them, but when do the dominoes start to fall over for you? How old are you, and what starts to happen? Because right now you're speaking past tense. So at some point you go from not just Christian, but really involved professional Christian, as you put it, to now where you are. Where does this start?
So in my early 20s, the first couple of years out of school, I'm an engineer.
I'm probably gonna check this guy's channel out first. It all depends on if I get the answers of what I'm looking for in this video. Because in this video, I want to know what his reasoning is behind his deconstruction. If I don't get it from here, I'm gonna go to his channel.
Towards being a professional Christian, because my wife was still in college at the time, and so Link and I had kind of, we'd been best friends since first grade, 1984. So we kind of knew what we were working towards. And the idea that we were going to develop this ministry where we got to be
why I left Christianity and Rhett McLaughlin.
Really trying to find a way
I left Christianity.
Do the thing that we loved for the cause that we loved.
So it sort of started as with God in the periphery here, of like all the video stuff, and it's all sort of directed towards, at least subtly to some degree, evangelism.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was a way to have my cake and eat it too, because it's all as that would be funny and make our comedy videos, and we were really trying to find a way to do the thing that we loved for the cause that we loved.
So it sort of started as with God in the periphery here, of like video stuff, and it's all sort of directed towards, at least subtly to some degree, evangelism.
Yeah,
Did
definitely.
we know
And I
why?
think it
No,
was a
that's what
way
I'm
to
saying.
have my
If
cake and
he
eat it too,
doesn't
because
share it by the end of this video, I'm gonna watch more just because I'm curious.
I really wanted, like, we are entertainers at heart. We wanted to be filmmakers. We wanted to make things that, you know, had significance culturally. We wanted to do that from the very beginning. So we always had our minds of like on this idea that maybe we'll kind of, you know, we can use this ministry, or we can have a ministry where we're doing these things that we love, and then maybe something that we make will be impactful enough so that we could one day, maybe we'll move to Hollywood and maybe we'll have a ministry there just through the things that we create. That was sort of the thought in the early days. So shortly after the engineering stint, go on staff with Campus Crusade. At that point, you know, you're going to the staff training and you're taking the seminary classes and your initial, and I was always I was not like a super deep student of theology, but I would say moderately deep. And there were certain ideas that I would gravitate towards and things that I like to think about and talk about. At that same time, I was given a book, and I never really thought about the intersection of science and faith. I think the way that I would have described it is, yeah, I think that most scientists are not Christians. Most scientists are atheists, and they've come up with some pretty wacky ideas to try to explain the world and why people are the way that they are, why the world is the way that it is. And they're mostly just desperate attempts to explain the world without God's involvement. So that whole thing about evolution and how long the world has been here, that's probably all BS. But I didn't think about it any more deeply than that. I wasn't like a staunch young earth creationist. I didn't think about that issue in particular.
Sure.
But I picked up a book from an astronomer, Hugh Ross. And I'm sure, you know, I've mentioned this before, and you know, he has a Christian ministry that is like very anti-evolution, but very pro old universe from the standpoint of astronomy, which, you know, obviously when you look at all the astronomical evidence and the speed of light and the size of the universe and all this stuff, okay, the universe has been around for probably as long as the scientists are saying. But then he went on to essentially say that, you know, but all truth is God's truth. And this is totally compatible with the Bible. But just so you know, evolution didn't get all the astronomical evidence. Very pro. And I'm
Sorry,
sure,
I want to see the person's
I've mentioned
name.
this before, and you know, he has a Christian ministry that long the world has been here. That's probably all BS. But I didn't think about it any more deeply than that. I wasn't like a staunch young earth creationist. I didn't think about that issue in particular. But I picked up a book from an astronomer, Hugh Ross.
Okay, Hugh Ross. That's who it is. Sorry, I wanted to check. Hugh Ross. I gotta put HUJH.
Evolution didn't happen. He was a proponent of something called progressive creationism, which essentially was, yes, the world has been around for as long as the scientists say.
Right.
And these fossils we find are legitimate fossils that are approximately the date that they're saying they are. But God was creating new batches of creatures, special creations at different stages throughout the history of the world.
Whoa.
And then ultimately resulting in the creation of people.
So why?
At different stages throughout the history of the world.
Whoa.
And then ultimately.
Give me a second, guys. I don't want to miss any of this because we get into the good stuff right here. Because I believe that he's about to get into his reasoning behind all of this. And that's the juicy stuff.
Resulting in the creation of people.
So, why?
Great question. Creating new batches of creatures, special. The world has been around for as long as the scientists say.
Right.
And these fossils we find are legitimate fossils that are approximately the date that they're saying they are. But God was creating new batches of creatures, special creations at different stages throughout the history of the world.
Whoa.
And then ultimately resulting in the creation of people.
So, why?
Great question. Great question. So I remember thinking as I'm reading this, I'm like, it's the first time I ever thought about there being some reconciliation between what we observe in science and my belief about the world. And I just remember thinking, this doesn't feel like a good explanation.
I've never heard of somebody. I mean, I'm sure I've met someone who probably like believes that the Earth is old and the universe is old, but maybe is suspicious of evolution. But specifically, like, well, I'm a scientist and I'm an astronomer, and there's just no way I can look at the redshifting of the galaxies and deny that the universe is 13.8 billion years old. But that evolution stuff from that other field of biology that I've probably never really seriously studied, yeah, no, that's all BS. And instead, I mean, God is just creating animals willy-nilly.
And there's animals that are getting more and more like a person before the people.
Yeah, it's like God is just sort of doing little trial runs or something.
Right. I mean, what does that say about God is what I was thinking.
Yeah, it gets there eventually. That is a little bit strange. I suppose it's
I'm
kind of
hoping that this guy is not about to say that the reason why he doubted in the existence of God is because of the book that he read, where a guy said he's Christian and he's an astronomer and he believes in something, and his explanation of the Bible from his perspective is incoherent. I hope that that's not what he's about to say. Are you going to leave Christianity and then join another religion that involves serving the same God? It's the same thing.
In the sense of like stretching out the story of Genesis over however long you needed, and animals sort of popping in on different days.
Wait, when you said it's the same thing, do you mean being a Christian is the same as being like a Buddhist? Is that what you mean, or something different?
Days and stuff like this, but yeah, I mean the biggest problem for me that evolution poses to the Christian, and a lot of Christians today just accept evolution. They're like, yeah, sure, humans all have a common ancestor with other animals. The biggest problem that I think it poses is the seeming like arbitrariness with which you have to say that, presuming that
Buddhists don't serve Jesus, God, or Christ. Okay, so which other religion involves serving the same God? So something along moving from one branch to the, so something along the lines of you moving from one branch to the next. Yeah, but I'm wondering, so you said Buddhists don't say, so which religion? So you said join, because you said, and then join another religion that involves serving the same God. Which other religion, I guess that's what I don't know, is which other religion involves serving the same God? Because obviously Buddhist is out of it. So if that person followed that religion, they're out. But which religion follows the same God?
Our apish ancestors don't get to inherit eternal life. At some point, a mother gives birth to a child, and the child is morally condemnable to hell, but also potentially has the ability to inherit eternal life, but his mother doesn't.
Right.
And what the difference is there. And maybe it's just a brute fact. Maybe God
Sorry,
just...
you said, are you going to get the DLC? I just bought PlayStation Plus. Bro, Kiani, you know my situation. You know that I'm not buying DLC for Division, man. I just spent money on getting PlayStation Plus. You know my situation, brother. There's no way I can get DLC for Division. No chance. You know my situation. Like, there's no chance. I'm Roman Catholic. I can come sit in your church in the morning, no problem. People have different views about the Bible, but the Bible itself don't change. Okay, so are you talking about different? I'm confused now. So you're talking about people who leave one church and go to a different church, and you're saying like that's what you meant by serving the same God? I get you. Yeah, like what's the point of changing your church? I understand what you mean now. Because I was confused. I thought you said like because you said another religion. I thought you meant like another religion, you know, not just changing church. Did you pay for the entire year of PS Plus? No, bro. The amount it costs to make the entire PS Plus is there. Definitely not. It's 15 for basic DLC. It's 25 for if you like skins and crap. Yeah, bro. I don't have money to spend on that. That's it. I'm not spending. Even if I got $15 or $25 right now, I wouldn't spend it on Division. I don't have money like that. I can't spend money like that right now. Different branches of Christianity has different beliefs. For instance, some branches don't celebrate Easter's, but the God is the same. Yeah, okay. No, I understand you now, Lucky. It's just before you said different religion. I wouldn't say different branches of Christianity are different religions per se. I thought you were talking about a different religion. Like, you know, most people, I would like, for me, I think different religion. I think Christianity, I think Buddhism, I think Islam, I think Judaism, I think, you know, where I'm from in Nigeria as well, like Shango, you know, that's what I thought you were talking about. But I understand what you're saying now, that you're just talking about like, why would you leave one branch of Christianity to follow a different branch of Christianity? I think there are reasons for that. Still, but at least I can see how someone could just move from one church to a different church just because they like the way the pastor is preaching. And it's silly because it's like, why? Yeah, well, yeah, like I said, when you said different religion, I took it literally as like a different religion, or, you know, because religion, I take Christianity as one religion, not multiple religions.
Breathe life into that particular organism, but it just seems a bit arbitrary and unfair.
Yeah.
That person's suffering will now be redeemed and it now means something, but their mothers, who is the same organism, same suffering, same lifestyle, same everything, dies like an animal. It just doesn't seem right to me. Yeah. Unless you want to say that personhood is something which develops as well, but that gets you into a whole lot of trouble with
and so that's where I ended up going, right? Because when I didn't really buy into the progressive creationism thing, but I was so sure that evolution didn't happen. I was like, when you're raised in the Christian faith and the only exposure to the idea of evolution you've ever had has come through the filter of a Christian scientist telling you why it's not legitimate. You know, somebody comes into your church and they're like the evolution expert and they're like, they make it seem so impossible that you walk out of that with the full affirmation of the idea that evolution definitely didn't happen. And it's a horrible explanation. It will be debunked by the scientists themselves within our lifetime. Like, that's the kind of stuff that we told ourselves, right?
Right.
And we firmly believed it. But because of this proposal, this progressive creationist idea, because the age of the universe and the age of the earth, from a geological, I've always been interested in geology, but from a geological standpoint, I was like, oh, well, this is inescapable. Like, this isn't, like, the way that Answers in Genesis has framed this issue is, I mean, I'm not going to say it's definitely disingenuous. I think they really just believe that it has to, you know, be consistent with the Bible. And so they're just willing to just completely reshape everything that they're seeing in light of that. But I essentially was like, well, this doesn't make any sense. So then the idea of considering evolution, which just felt, I was like, am I actually about to do this? And I was like, well, I think C.S. Lewis believed in evolution. You know, you start saying these things like, but there's a lot of Christians who are like theistic evolutionists. And okay, so maybe there's something to this. So I read Francis Collins' book, The Language of God. And the thing that I took away from that book was that, well, evolution happened as well. And he touches on it a little bit. He talks about, in that book, I think he talks about the second chromosome, the fusing of the second chromosome. I think he talks a little bit about retroviruses, and essentially, you know, we've got the marks of the same retroviruses on our DNA that chimpanzees do. And there are just these, again, there's no other way to see it.
Just like inexplicable data.
Right. It's like if we're not related to every other animal on Earth, well, God certainly tried to make it seem like we are.
Yeah.
And so then that was a huge moment for me. I remember coming home, still living in North Carolina. Again, a lot of people think that the story that is often told is that Link and I were Christians. We came to Los Angeles. We were corrupted by this sinful city, and we threw away our faith. And the reality, and I've told it many times, but you know, it's passed over, is that all this happened when I was in North Carolina.
Right.
This happened when I was completely buckled into the Bible Belt as tightly as you can be, surrounded by people who agree with me about all these things, with no social pressure to deviate from that at all. In fact, a lot of social pressure to stay in the fold.
Opposite.
So I was struggling a lot because I didn't have anybody to talk to about this.
Yeah.
I remember talking to Link. I talked to Link about it a little bit, and he would just kind of be like, "Oh, shit!" Like it felt like you're learning a lot of things that seem problematic, but I'm not going to think of. I don't want to think about this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jessie, my wife, who did come from like a young earth creationist background, like that's what she was taught growing up. When I came home and I was like, we need to talk about something. And I said, I am thoroughly convinced that evolution is true and that we are related to every other animal. I believe in common ancestry. And I just think that it is not just, I sort of think it's true. It's just like my reading has led me to think that if this isn't true, then I actually can't determine what anything that's true. It's so overwhelming because I'd read additionally to that.
That's an interesting point.
She just starts
that you're so sure of something that it's true that if that thing is not true, then you don't possess the intellectual ability to define truth. That's very interesting. That's a very, very, very interesting and unique perspective, because that's what this is. That statement he just made, that I'll say it again. He's so sure of the statement of what he knows and that it's true, that if that thing is not true, he's just not capable of figuring out what the truth is. That's very, very, that's a serious conundrum for someone to be in. Let me catch up a little bit. I got some good news. Found out we actually got reservations tonight for Casa Bonita. I can't wait to see how much it's changed. That sounds like a movie or something. I hope that goes well, man. Usually when an American refers to themselves as Christian, they either refer to a Christian religion itself someone in Eastern Europe or Russia, etc., could specify what they are. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I think you're saying some Christians in America usually say what kind of Christian they are when they talk about it. And wait, so maybe they don't in America define what kind of Christian they are, and then in Europe people more specify what kind of Christian they are. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, I do think it's interesting, and I think it's interesting because there's a lot of doctrine that comes from the Bible that people base their doctrines. Like there's a lot of things that people base their doctrines on the Bible, and some of them is correct, some of them is wrong. I mean, like I always say, there's only one truth about a specific matter. Like there can be multiple truths about multiple matters, but there's one truth about that specific matter. Like I am Nigerian and I am also in Canada. About where I am, it is true that I am Canada. About where I'm from, it is true that I'm Nigerian. Like, yes, there could be two truths, but on one matter, there's only one truth. So if people differ on certain things, that brings about the reason why, yeah, people would like to say, I don't believe that I should, eat the kidney of a goat, for example, and someone will say, I believe I should eat the kidney of a goat. On that matter, it could either be there's one truth, and the truth could be you can eat or you can't eat. Both of them are true, but there's only one truth still. I think they hold tighter to their identity. Do you think it may be related more? Wait, let me read this text. I'm gonna have to make a phone call. So because of guys, I think because of evangelism, especially from the perspective of fundamentalism or even non-denominationalism, did more to harm the mainline church and identity through faith than anything. I was thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, the religion is the same thing, but they divided themselves with silliness and the foolishness with all the counsel for their deluding and confusing things. I never seen to divide themselves like that, despite all the different sects. We got 4 people interested for a raid. Kiani, we got 4 people interested in a raid. You do realize that one of those people is trolling, right? One of those people that put that in there is trolling. But that was for 3 p.m. though. Right now it's almost 4 o'clock. We can't do a raid anymore today. I guess I could have canceled the event at 3, but I was into the conversation. But yeah, Unarmed is just putting that in there to troll. He doesn't want to do any raid. And I understand you joining as the 4th to help them out, but if you're joining in to help people out, someone out who's trolling, that's why you enjoy division, brother. Don't worry about like other people right now, man. People don't, if they were interested, they would come. So yeah, I'll cancel the event, but yeah, don't worry about other people, brother. I'm not even here.
Crying. Because she knew what this represented.
Right.
This was this seismic shift. And I think a lot of people that I tell this story to are like, what do you mean? But there's all these Christians that believe in evolution. Like, I can't believe that this was so significant for you. But I think the reason it was is because at that point, I realized how wrong I could be about something so fundamental.
Yeah.
And I never, ever considered that I might be wrong about something so fundamental. And then not only was I wrong, but all of these Christian apologists who were so sure about their critiques of evolution they had missed the boat so significantly on this that suddenly I was like, can I trust anything else they've got to say about this? So that was the first big domino.
I cannot wait
It's
to
significant,
read
like
the
you
book
say.
that
I mean,
this
you
person
might
is
think,
talking about.
well, there are Christians who
Like
believe
these
in
books.
evolution, but it depends which way you come at it. I mean, if you're somebody who's like a scientifically minded person who comes to faith in Jesus, you're not going to abandon evolution, but you might think, okay, I can make this all work. But if you've come from the background you've come from, it's like going up to your wife and saying, you know, I just think maybe we should like live in separate houses or something. And your wife starts bawling, and someone says, "Hey, I don't really know. Some people do that. Some married couples, they live apart." And stuff. It's like, yeah, but what it represents to move from where we are now and the way we were living to having this kind of question or this kind of desire indicates a direction of thought.
Yeah,
which you don't really want to entertain. Your wife, if I'm not mistaken, was a student of Bart Ehrman. At Chapel Hill.
Oh, okay, Keanu.
Right?
No
And
worries,
was this
man.
around-
Yeah. Like, maybe if I get Division at some point, we could play Division. Again, I'm probably not going to stream it if I'm playing video games, but we could still hang out and play. But I'm telling you, Keanu, for sure, that if it's about whether the community wants to raid right now, this community don't want to raid, and me included, I'm not itching to like try to get people together. Like, for example, even right now, we would have gone to play with 2 people on LFG, which could have probably ended up taking away some of your fun, you know. Sometimes we just don't have to force certain things, and that's the way that I'm looking at it. That's why I'm here watching videos now, is because I'm just trying to not force anything. But in terms of gaming, Keanu, we can game together. I have some time before I actually get on streams to actually where we could play games. It's just I'm not gonna stream gaming. That's just we could play though, and we can get people in the community together, stuff like that. There's the Discord, we can all play video games together. It's just right now for me to be making like $100 or a month from this, and then I've spent $15 on PS Plus, spend another $15 on Division, and then streaming it I cannot do it. But I can't do it for the stream, but to just relax and hang out and just play with friends, of course we can hang out and we could play. That's no problem, bro. I don't have an issue with that. I'm just letting you know, like, it's not like the whole idea of me gaming, it's not like I wouldn't game. I'm just saying I wouldn't stream it. And I don't want it to be like, oh, because I'm not gaming while I stream, that it means I'm not gaming at all. No, I could still game with my friends. Imagine if I got a 9-to-5, if I had a 9-to-5 job, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't be streaming anymore. It didn't mean that I'm not gonna game anymore, you know. So that's me every day on work. Yeah, at least, you know, the good thing for you, Lucky, is like it's work for you, so you actually get paid to do that, you know. At least I think that I would also do some, I think I would also, you know, probably go some lengths for work as well, for a job that I'm getting paid for, you know, because I signed up for it, you know. But here, like, at the end of the day, we talk about each other as friends, right? Nobody should be like, we shouldn't be pushing each other to, like, it's not a job. It's not my job to play with you. It's not your job to play with me. It's just, we just play and have fun when we can, if we can, you know what I'm saying? That's it. I know it's different. Don't get me wrong, guys. I know it's different from what I've been doing for the past 5 years. For 5 years, I come here every day and I just do whatever I feel like is going to make sure that everybody's having a good time every day. And I've always done it, and it's made it normal. So me saying I'm not going to do that, it's weird. I get it, guys. I get it. It's just, if we're really friends, then we can adjust. We can adjust with that. Like if I have a kid now, for example, I know this is going to be hard for you guys to link, but if I had a kid right now, for example, I don't think you guys are going to expect me to ignore my kid just to be able to make sure that I can play video games with you guys. The problem is right now you guys don't see what I'm doing, like as important as having a kid. You know, so that's the best example I can give. There's other things that I have that's priority, and as friends you guys can understand that I have those priorities, and it doesn't stop us from being friends and still doing stuff, bro. Man. But no, they complain and complain and complain, don't get anything done. Just to be clear, I don't get paid well. Well, Trinity is very cheap. My household pool our money, and I spend money very wisely. Oh yeah, I don't think that, I'm not saying that you get paid well or like you're a millionaire or anything. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying, Lucky. I'm just saying, like, if I signed up for a job and I was getting paid, I can use my pay to decide what I'm gonna get out of where I'm working or what I'm not gonna allow. A lot of people have like, that's the way a lot of people live their lives, you know. They're working and they use they basically look at their family, they look at the job, and they decide, you know what, I'm sticking with this anyways, because they're working and they at least look at that paycheck and it's something to, you know. That's what I mean. Whether it's $2, for some people $2 is all they need. For some people $5 is all they need. Some people $10 is all they need. $12, whatever. Everybody has their own point of what they are. What makes them go back to that job every day. Me, I don't want this to be a job anymore. This Twitch thing, I don't want it to be a job anyway. If it makes me money, great. It would be a side hustle or a passion project, let me put it that way, for me. But I don't want it to be a job anymore, because I don't treat you guys like you are a job. You know what I'm saying? We treat each other like we're friends, you know, so let's not make it a job. That's it.
Around this kind of time, was she already being fed the atheist
Overdose, you've been here all day too, man.
So,
hey, thank you for, hopefully you're enjoying the content in some regard, hopefully.
She, at that point, this was before we even went on staff with Campus Crusade. I mean, there was no questioning of anything. Like, we both saw
your child is priority. Yeah, I was giving an example, Lucky, that
coming and he's just,
a child would be priority. If I have a child, I'm not going to leave my child crying and come here and play games 5 hours a day, 8 hours a day, so that people can enjoy video games. Everybody would agree that if I had a kid, I should go deal with my kid. In fact, until I took this step to do what I'm doing now, a lot of people always said, Femi, do whatever you want to do. We'll support you. And the people who support you will support you. The people who won't. That's what everybody used to say. So now we're in that time. And I appreciate the support from everybody who does support me. I really do. I'm just not going to, I don't want to treat you guys like a job. Like, that's it. And even actually, I say I don't want to, but still, I still do it. I still put up a schedule every day and tell everybody, if you want to raid at this time every day, I would be there and I will raid with you. I still give that opportunity. So it's not like I don't do it at all. I still do it, but people don't want to do it. So that helps me out. That's all.
Decimating the faith of Christian students. And
with a laugh, you know.
Yeah,
he comes in with that chuckle. That
so disarming. And it's funny.
I think they meant that with playing games. I think maybe 95% of the people who said that statement actually meant it, period. I think most people said, whatever you want to do, we will be there for you, because they thought whatever I did will be something they wanted. I'll say it again, because that could be, let's say, for example, Sunday. Sunday is like, whatever game you play, I'll support you. But that's because Sunday likes games. So he's basically saying, if as far as you do what I want you to do, I'll keep being here. But that's not what friends say. Instead, friends actually say, it doesn't matter what you do, man. I got you and I'll be there for you. So for the people who said it just because they thought I was going to do something that they would like, it's okay. It's okay. Like, it's okay. It's very, very, very okay. Because that just shows me, like, for you, it's as far as I come to, it's like a boss, my boss telling me, as far as you show up to work every day, I'll be happy. Well, you're not my boss. Simple. All I gotta say for all of that to go out the window is, well, you're not my boss, so I don't gotta show up unless you are my boss. And if you are my boss, then in that case, well, unless I want to lose my job, then I show up every day no matter what. So yeah, I agree with you that yes, some people said they'll support me no matter what because they were hoping that no matter what I do will be something that they liked.
I haven't met Bart. I want to,
which means they didn't realize, but they were just not being honest or sincere. I don't know the right word that falls in that category.
You know, my wife is she's very passionate and she's very smart, and so she was a great defender of the faith when she was in it. And
his wife also
would challenge him, right? And she would go up to him after class and be like, "What about this or what about that?" And then she would like come and report back, or like, "This is what he said." And you know, and I'm sure that there are many students who have continued to attempt this strategy with him over the years. At the same time, there was somebody who was working with Campus Crusade at UNC who approached a couple years later when Link and I were already beginning to do our ministry work, who approached me and Link and said, "We actually want to create some resources to counter what Bart is doing on campus, because we feel like we need to equip students better because they're going into these classes of his and having being confronted with these questions. And what can we do, like in terms of a multimedia project, to address that?" So we were actually beginning to have those conversations. It never became anything. I mean, how ironic.
I still need to figure out what that is.
I could dig up a video of me like criticizing Bart.
You're right. You can be here. Same with others. I personally love watching games and joining in. I don't know if I wanted religion, I'd hit up church or the Bible. But again, that's not being mean, just the way I think. No, it's not being mean at all. Yeah, I don't think it's being mean. But yeah, like I said, as far as I kept doing what you, like, let's say, maybe not you specifically, but for some people, they're here for me to serve their purpose. That's it. That's all they're here for. As far as I continue to serve the purpose that you want me to serve, you would continue to come back. And that's okay. I understand that. For me, I don't have to serve people's purpose. I don't have to. I chose to. I teach people raids every day. Deal with a lot of people's recklessness, shenanigans every day. I don't have to. I choose to offer that thing. So if I at some point choose not to anymore, then people realize that that's all they were really here for, was to use the thing that was available. Then that's okay. I'm okay with that. That's it. I wondered why I quit you last time. Yeah. You to dungeon, you decided last minute and did an LFG raid, so that's why I left. Yeah, exactly. See that again? That's all in line with the stuff, right? It's like, as far as you're serving the purpose that I need you to serve, I will continue to support what you're doing. But at the moment you don't serve that purpose anymore, you don't matter. That's literally what you just described. Like, for example, I agreed to do a dungeon, and then last minute I did an LFG raid, like stuff like that. Like, it's like people just want me to serve their purpose people forget that, like, I'm a human being in this equation, and because I offer to serve some people something doesn't mean I have to. And if I stop doing it, that's okay. I also know that people who also want me to just serve their purpose are gonna stop as well. So it's not like I'm oblivious to it. I know that that's what I've been doing for years. 5 years. Trust me. I know that there are a lot of people. There's 3,000 people that have followed this channel, for example. Out of those 3,000 people, maybe as of today, you'll see 70 of them a month. Why? What happened to the other 2,930? I served the purpose that they needed me to serve for a time. I wasn't serving it anymore, and they moved on, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. You know, even without me changing what I'm doing, I just didn't serve the purpose that they needed me for anymore. And that's okay. And what you've described to me, like right here, talking about my stream is a raid channel. My stream is a raid channel. I did what this channel is for over something that you wanted, and it made you leave the stream. It just shows that if I'm not serving the purpose for you that you want me to serve, you don't care. So, which is, and I'm not condemning that, by the way. Like you said, it's just the way you think, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. And you're not alone. There's a lot of people who feel that way, and it's okay. Trust me, I think it's okay.
From 20 years ago. I kind of wish we had done it just to have it now.
That would be awesome.
But yeah, so there was never...
I want to hear this, his wife's part of it.
Especially in those days, in the college days, there was zero curiosity.
Oh, all right, okay.
About whether or not I might be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't even up for debate. There was full confidence and no curiosity. Mm-hmm. And I am in a very different place. I think those
full confidence and no curiosity. That's cool. Me, I'm very curious. Like, I'm very, very curious. I'm so curious that I've read some biblical book. Like, I've read some biblical books. I say biblical, religious books outside of my religion. That's how much I am curious. But I can imagine, you know, for someone just being flooded with information like that, it can be really difficult. I didn't mean to blow up. No.
Those two things have reversed.
Take care of yourself, Omar.
Right.
Very low confidence in my perspective and high curiosity for all of this stuff.
Yeah, I feel like that's been happening to me over the past few years as well. And I think it's for the better. It's less entertaining and it's less fulfilling on a superficial level, because it's nice to be able to, even when you're just talking to somebody, it's nice to be able to, at dinner, when somebody asks you anything, right, here it is, I'll lay it out. Here's my beliefs and here's why I think this, and let's have a discussion about it. It's less fulfilling to sort of go, you know what, man, I've got kind of no idea, but here are some thoughts. But I think it protects yourself against the kind of spiritual crisis which you inevitably run up against when that first domino starts to fall. And for you, it was evolution. You've said before that you used to kind of evangelize. You know,
when I watch this, I wonder what this guy thinks when he hears the conversation between Alex and Lennox, because in terms of this whole science argument, there are a lot of arguments there are a lot of things on both sides. So I don't understand where, unless he's saying all the things that are scientifically prove the existence of, actually, I could see the dilemma there. So say, for example, there are things in science that prove the Bible is true, and that's fine. But the Bible is standing as its always true, not partially true. So if you could find anything to disprove anything in the Bible, then it's not everything falls apart. It's not just about the things that are right. Okay, I can see that. I can see that.
Without having known very much about evolution. I mean, it sounds like the moment you started like reading into evolution of its own accord, you became convinced by it. How do you navigate arguing against evolution if you haven't already engaged with that primary literature? Like, I'm really intrigued when I heard you say that on some other show or something. It's like, well, you know, I hadn't really learned about evolution, but I used to go out and argue against it. Like,
Yeah.
What arguments are you using?
Yeah.
Like, how do you do
Great
that?
question. First of all, it was a different time.
Yeah.
Anyone who's interested in these issues now can get. I mean, you could just ask ChatGPT to give you a primer on evolution. But all I had was, I mean, there was a few books, but one I remember, there was this, I can't remember the author's name, but the title was Icons of Evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of talks about the quote unquote best arguments for evolution. And he talks about why they're all corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I found is that, first of all, 99% of the people that I engaged with about this, where I was from, and at the time, knew nothing about evolution. Even if they were like, yeah, I agree with that because that's what the scientists say.
Yeah.
But then you're like, describe the mechanism of evolution.
It's like we come from monkeys, right?
Well,
like jumped out of the tree.
I had read enough to say things like, okay, so you're saying that the primary raw material of evolution and through natural selection are genetic mutations. So give me an example of a beneficial mutation.
Mm.
And at best, your beneficial mutation just causes a change in color. But give me an example of a new species.
Yeah.
You're like, that doesn't happen.
That stare is quite
right.
It's quite intimidating. Suddenly I'm like, I'm thinking, is evolution true? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know, man.
And so I just had those backlog, and then I would say things like, take, for instance, if we took all, you have this concept that you put organisms into different environments and they suddenly become, they adapt to different environments.
Mm-hmm.
But what if we were to take all of the dogs in the world and put them out into the wild? What would happen? We would have a convergence to a type of canine that could survive in the wild. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't be my little poodle, and it wouldn't be the Great Dane. It wouldn't be these extravagant dogs that we have created through artificial selection. It would be the one that adapts to the environment, and that would probably look like a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
End of story. Evolution doesn't happen. And most people who don't know anything about it are like, oh, okay, I guess it doesn't happen.
Yeah. It's easy enough to do when somebody really, really just doesn't know. Because I think most people are at that position where they kind of know that evolution is this thing and it's got something to do with genetics and environment selection. But all you need is like one good counterexample or question that can't be answered, along with that confidence.
Yeah.
And those eyebrows.
Yeah, the eyebrows are key.
The eyebrows and the confidence and
Oh,
there's something
my
about the fact
goodness.
that you're doing this kind of professionally as well. Like if they know, oh, this is the guy who's part of this organization and whatnot, they're probably thinking, even if I had an answer, he'll have heard it because he does this every day.
Right,
and so
yeah.
there's just something about that confidence which is going to be quite off-putting for people. But presumably those questions start to get answered for you by the
Let me
reading.
think about this thing I'm about to see properly. Oh my goodness. All right. So this is what I'm thinking, right? This whole conversation that we're talking about here. Okay. So there's two options. Evolution is true. Bible is false. You do good things because you try your best to do good things, you die, you stop to exist. That's one option. The other option is the Bible is true, evolution is false, you do good things, you die, you go to hell. I can see the reason why someone like this will be talking to all sorts of religious people, because evolution, there's no stakes for evolution. If you stay on the evolution side, there's no stakes. You just die and cease to exist, and that's it. But if there's a chance that the Bible is true and evolution is false, again, I keep saying, you better know what the truth is, because the side you're staying on has no stakes. Believing in it or not believing in it doesn't change anything for anybody. You could say it allows you to live more freely. What is living freely? A lot of people who are living freely who end up in jail anyways. So the is it consequence or the what happens if you're wrong is way too big to ignore. That's what I think. Like, at the end of the day, if you just think about it on just a plain level, if evolution is true, there's no downside to not believing in it. Literally, there's no downside, especially if you are already trying to be morally good, because evolution doesn't stop you from your moral standard. It doesn't. The only question here is, if the Bible is true, then that's when there's high stakes, basically. And I guess that's just another thing to ponder on. And I hope what I said makes sense, because, it's always when you're online like this, I feel like I try to not just focus on, I just don't say anything just because I try to think about it, just because, everybody's words have, even my words have repercussions to it. But yeah.
Thing that you're doing, and was it, you said it was Francis Collins' book. Is there a moment where you're reading it and like your mind goes to those apologetical arguments that you make, and you're like, oh, that doesn't work
Yeah,
anymore.
I'm like, this, there's not an explanation for this. And of course,
did you get science lessons in school, or was it just religion? And if so, did you think back then already, this is the biggest nonsense I ever heard? So, like, science, I don't think that science is the biggest nonsense I've ever heard. I think that science is an attempt to try to understand where we all came from. And I think science is trying to understand where we all came from. So it's not nonsense, it's an attempt. When I was young, I don't remember them talking about Big Bang when they were talking about science. I don't remember it, to be honest. I don't remember, because I'm trying to think, like, when I was in juniors, like what we call it junior secondary and senior secondary. In junior secondary, you learned, I'm trying to figure out where we could learn about, I think there was evolution, right? And the evolution one of, like, when they ask how many years ago was the earth start, did the earth start, in a textbook, I read the book, I read the answer, and I gave them the answer. I wasn't trying to, in Nigeria, the education system is very different. So it's not, most students didn't try to understand what they were reading. They just tried to know the answer to the question that people were going to ask. Yeah. Because I'm sure that there was that part of, like, the earth and how long it's existed. That would have been a question in science class based on that textbook. And I just answered the question. I didn't think about, if it was 1 billion years, I didn't think about it that far. But that's a question that I, like, the diameter of the earth, things like that, those things, I think I remember them talking about that in, like, maybe geography or science class. But yeah, even till now, I don't think that it's nonsense. What I see when I'm reading, like, things about evolution is what because there are different things that scientists say that are true. Like, for example, it's a scientist that says that if I drop this cup, it's gonna fall down based on gravity. That is, I don't think that's nonsense. It's true. If I drop it, the cup is going to fall, and if it's made of glass, it's going to shatter. Like, I don't think science is nonsense. But in terms of the whole evolution and Big Bang theory and things like that, there was a video that I watched. Maybe I could find it and I could play it with you. There's a lot of like excitement over like things that it's like, oh, this might be it. So this is what a lot of I find with science is there's a lot of wait, this might be it. And everybody, now I show that, let's say a kangaroo, is that what they're called? Kangaroos, the ones that stand up on 2 feet. Let's say they show up and he stands up on 2 feet, and you're like, I stand up on 2 feet as well. Maybe I used to be a kangaroo. I understand that. Yes, there's a relation there. I get it. We stand, they stand as well. But that's all it is to me, is like, oh, that's interesting. They do the same thing that I do. But when you look at me and you look at a kangaroo, and the only thing we have in common is the fact that we both stand on 2 feet. I talk, it doesn't talk. I think, it doesn't think. Then I can say like, well, if you telling me that my great grandparent was a kangaroo, I don't really like, I'm not fascinated. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Is I think science is about people being fascinated about specific possibilities. When it comes to things like the Big Bang, people are just fascinated by specific possibilities, and I'm just not fascinated by it. I think that's how I would explain like the difference, because like I said, if someone tells me that I used to be a kangaroo, I'm not like, I'm not like that, man. Even if they put boxing gloves on a kangaroo's hand and it starts doing like this, I'm not that fascinated about putting a glove on a kangaroo. Like, it just doesn't fascinate me. And again, like, that's why I'm listening to this, because when it comes to these things that these people are talking about, right? I'm expecting, so he's said that there is irrevocable proof that the earth has existed longer than how many years the Bible says it's existed for. Right? Now, what I'm going to do to get fascinated is look at the book and look at the description that the person said, and then see what the consensus, because I'm not a scientist, right? So I'm going to look at what scientists in general say about that book. And if it's just an idea to be fascinated about, I'm not going to be fascinated. It's just an idea. It's very much as much of an idea as the Bible could be if it wasn't true. Because like I said, the implications here is what I'm talking about. Even if evolution is true, as a Christian, what does that do for me? It doesn't take anything away from me. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't take anything away from me, even if evolution was true. You could say, oh, well, I believed in the wrong thing. So what? Like, I believed I was going to be rich when I was 25 and have kids. I'm 32 now. Like, so what? I believed in some other things. So what? But on the flip side, if evolution is wrong and the Bible is true, the implications of that is a lot more massive. It's night and day. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Hey, I'm just trying to speak the truth logically. That's it. I'm trying to speak the truth logically. That's all.
You can do that. You can, every single one of these things, there's a page on the Answers in Genesis website for everything that we could talk about related to evolution. So they've got their perspective on the second chromosome and the fusing of that chromosome.
Yeah.
They've got their perspective on these retroviruses. And I think I was getting to a place where I no longer, I would essentially,
And I also think that every human being in your heart tries to find a solution to life outside of God. I think innately in you, and I say this because it's also scriptural, right? There is something. So let's say, again, if the Bible is true and God exists and God is true and the devil also exists, that means if you look at it, the devil is going to try to make sure you don't know God and God is going to try to make sure you know him, right? That's like he's going to, that's what their purposes are for. So when I say that in everybody, there's always going to be something in your heart that's trying to tell you that God doesn't exist. Yes, that's why science looks for evidence outside of God, because basically science is not about believing in the supernatural. So the whole idea of science, when it comes to God, tries to find answers outside of God. So I'm not, I know that that's going to happen because I know that the devil exists. And again, even if I'm wrong, there's no implication for that. Even if I was wrong, there's literally no implication. I don't lose anything by not believing in science.
I read their responses and I was just like, this can't be right. Like they have to be wrong about this. Like, this is not a good faith argument. This is not a good faith answer, you know? And that's when it started dawning on me that, okay, I began to notice a pattern, and I think maybe I didn't even realize I was noticing a pattern yet, but this is the pattern.
Because here is what I would say about this. I'm going to make a statement about what he's saying right now, but I want to read your message first. Let's say you get reborn, you think you would be a Christian again, or maybe you follow another religion. That would be interesting to know. I think that no matter when I lived, if I was searching for the truth, honestly with all my heart, and I was searching for the truth, I think I'll always end up at finding Christ. I think that's what I think. I think if God, like, you know, that's the thing, but that's the question, is if I was searching for the truth. Because sometimes, like, you can be searching for the lie without even knowing it. You know what I'm saying? And then by searching for the lie, you could actually find the truth. But like, I believe that if I was like, because I'm not getting reborn, but let's just say, like, how do I think I could have missed it? Let's say in this life, do I think I could have missed it and never actually been a Christian? Yes, it was possible, but I thank God that he was merciful enough, that he was merciful so that that didn't happen. You know, that, and I thank God that basically that's it. Because is it possible for me to not be a Christian? Yes, it's possible for anybody to be. Like, it's very, very possible. But, you know, I thank God that I'm not, like, that I didn't fall that way to where I didn't know Christ. Because, like I said, Christianity is not something that you get brought up as. Like, true salvation is not about how you got brought up. A lot of people grow up in Christian homes and end up being anything else: atheist, theist, agnostics, whatever. So it has nothing to do with about how you grew up. It's about whether or not you're searching for the truth. And that's it.
Pattern that started then, and then
I wanted to say something. What I'm now thinking about through all of this, like all well and good. Everything this person has said is well articulated. Now, if all this thing he's saying is true, if it's true, then how about Jesus existing? Did he also find a reason to believe that Jesus didn't exist and didn't claim what he said? Or is he saying that Jesus is crazy? Or is he saying that Jesus had some supernatural powers? Because again, if you look into history and you look into the life of Jesus, there is enough evidence to believe. In fact, most conclusions of every scientist, even the people who are not Nigerians, Christians or whatever, is that Jesus definitely died on a cross and definitely died on a cross. And there's a lot of proof that people saw him again after he died on a cross. I'll be reborn as a hippo. Oh my goodness. Yeah, like basically, fine, okay, evolution is real, whatever. But then there's the problem of Jesus actually existing and Jesus actually being crucified, and Jesus being crucified being prophesied as something that was going to happen. So, for example, now, Kiani, imagine if I told you that tomorrow at 6 p.m. a tortoise is going to cross and an eagle is going to pick it up, for example. I tell you that today and then tomorrow it happens. If it happens, there's reason. And now imagine if I told you this when you were 1 year old and now you're experiencing it at 26. Or yeah, that's true. You should be 27 now, I think. If I told you that to your parents at 1 year old, and they gave you that book at one, telling you what was going to happen on the next day, and then it happened tomorrow, and then that event that happened is as big as someone dying on a cross and then coming back to life, bro, that person knows something that I don't. That's just the conclusion. That person knows something that I don't, because people don't just go around telling people what's going to happen in the future. At least not something that's significant. Now, can you make hypotheses based on science? Sure. But I'm talking about somebody predicting a supernatural thing happening. That's outside of the realm of theory at this point. You predicting into the supernatural stuff, like, anyway.
Itself throughout
let's keep on listening.
And that is, there's a type of answer that someone gives when their allegiance is to the truth that they need to be true. And there's a type of answer that people who are actually interested in the truth give. And what I kept finding is that Christian apologetics, really consists of people who are like, well, the truth cannot be questioned. The truth, we've predetermined that this is true. And now we've got to find a way to buttress that truth. And there's a tenor to those arguments that they don't hold up very well under scrutiny. When you get the answer to the answer to the answer to the answer, you just keep finding it. Like, it just seems like these people seem to be interested in what actually happened, and these people seem to be interested in the.
That's great. That's great. That's beautiful what you just said there. I would believe, but no one would believe that I knew it would happen unless I told everyone beforehand. And here's the thing though, everyone, right? So let's say you only told 10 people, 20 people, 100, 1,000 people. Out of the billion people on earth, you only told 10 or 20 or 40. Now I agree. There is a lot of reason for all the other billion to doubt. And that's literally the scenario that we have in the world right now. Is something did happen. Someone did predict that it was going to happen. That person did tell a bunch of people, and those people are now telling more people about what's happened. At the end of the day, it's now a question of are you gonna take enough time to try to figure out if that thing is actually happened or not? I understand why it's hard to believe, but don't just take it from someone's mouth. Think about it, ask questions, and do your research. That's it. Because you're completely right. You would believe it because it happened to you, but no one would believe that what you said, that what you're saying is true unless you told them beforehand. In fact, some people that you told beforehand, you know what? They would say, man, you just had something, you knew something, or maybe they even say you lied, that the eagle didn't actually pick up the tortoise because they didn't see it happen. You told them it would happen, they didn't see it happen, so now they're not even believing you that you're telling the truth. So now that goes into, only the people who were actually there would believe. And it just creates more, like, it shows you why there is what we are seeing today. Is there's an issue of believing because everybody wasn't there. But there's ways to know if something is true even if you weren't there. Like, maybe you've never been to Nigeria, Kiani, but there are ways for you to try to figure out, okay, did this thing actually happen in Nigeria or not? And that's what I'm talking about, is there's ways to know. Because, like I said, when it comes to evolution, believing that or not, there's no consequences. So you don't really need to spend too much time in that. You don't need to spend too much time in that. Yo, Screw, I've been waiting for you, man. Did you find the conclusion of what I was talking about yesterday? Like, did you find some conclusions for me?
Mm-hmm. And that was a huge flip for me because again, as a Christian, what I thought is we have the truth. They have the desperate attempt to be anti-God, right? You know, we were taught that these evolutionists,
I don't even have water anymore.
These professors who are teaching this kind of stuff, like they're sinful. They're deceived. They don't want, they desperately don't want God to exist. So therefore, they got to come up with these ideas in order to explain them away. Mm. But when you're like, actually, first of all,
if I was going to explain that, it will take really the conclusion of what you said yesterday. Really? I thought it would be a simple answer. So just to be clear, the question that I'm talking about is, if something can't exist, something can't come from nothing, what does that imply? And you said the answer to that is long. It's long and it takes too long. Wow. Well, I hope you can type it out to me someday. But you said you already told me that from the start. Oh, yeah, because I'm not asking about what you believe. I'm just asking what the conclusion, the logical conclusion of that statement is. If nothing can just, if something can't just exist from nothing, what is the logical conclusion of that statement? Like, that's what I'm asking. I understand that what you believe in is complex, but I'm just asking of the logical conclusion of that statement. Like, for example, if I'm in my house and there's only one room and there's only two rooms, that's it. If I'm not in one room, if I say I'm not in one room, the logical conclusion is that I'm in the other room if I'm in the house. Because I've set it as I'm in the house. That's what I'm asking when I say like logical conclusion. There's no logical conclusion? Really? Because I can understand if someone doesn't believe that I'm in this house, then for them, they can say that there is no logical conclusion, but there is one. The person just doesn't believe in the logical conclusion. That's different. What's up, Latin? You'd have to get... No, you could just say the answer. If it's one sentence, I can read it. You don't have to explain it. Even if I don't understand it, I can figure out understanding it later. But do you understand what I mean? Like, if somebody says they're in this house, there's only 2 rooms, room A and room B, and they say they're not in room A, the logical conclusion is they're in room B. If I don't believe that you're in the house, now any other variable of possibilities could be there. But if I say I'm in the house and I'm not in room A, there's only one logical conclusion. That's what I'm saying. Like, whether I believe it or not is different from whether that's the logical conclusion or not. It will take a while, honestly. I'll DM you when I get the time. Wow. There's no hallway, there's only a room and another room. The house is literally a room and another room. That's it. There's no hallway, it's just rooms. There's only one logical conclusion. You're either in room A or room B. If you say you're in the house and you're not in room A, you're in room B. Period. That's the logical conclusion. So in this statement where you say something can't just come out of nothing. That means what? What's the logical conclusion of that? That means there was always something. That's the only conclusion. That's literally the only conclusion. Literally, to me, is that simple. Because if you say there's always nothing, then there's no something, then we don't exist, which we do. So the only conclusion left is that there was always something. Something always was. So that's why that can work. That something didn't come from nothing. There just always was something. Always something existed. And that's why more some things can come from the something. Literally, I don't know how that's... I don't see how... I see that as the only logical conclusion, to be honest. But then you say there's another conclusion that's so complicated. I don't see how there's another conclusion that's so complicated. But I guess it's because I don't know the other conclusion yet. So yeah, when you get time, you can explain it to me. It's be like it's big brain. Yeah, like that's it. Like there's only 2 things in this equation too. There's only something and nothing. That's it. Period. No other variables. If something can come from nothing, that means something always was. Simple. I think I don't know, it seems so simple to me, but...
You know, the age of the earth, these geologists back in the day, these were just... most people were Christians. It's just the fact of the matter. And they were like, oh, God must have done it in this way.
Yeah.
And then when they find evolution, okay, God must have done it in this way. And so the scientific stuff, there were plenty of people who taught me, like, it's okay.
That's a good point. That if there was nothing else, if you didn't have enough technology to be able to understand things, then you would just believe that it had to be done supernaturally. Like to say that there are some people who, when they saw fire, they struck a match and they struck 2 stones and fire came about. They could have thought that was an act of God, that they saw fire was something supernatural. That's what he's talking about here, which is fair.
Okay, you can believe that. You can be a theistic evolutionist. You probably still need to believe in a literal Adam and Eve because the atonement still needs to make sense. You know, original sin's got to make sense. And I was like, okay, yeah, those arguments seem like we're just trying to marry 2 disparate ideas.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay. But I just think that mentality of finding that the people, because it got into biblical scholarship after that. It got into, okay, well, the primeval history. I guess this is allegory. Like this didn't happen. These are religious myths that were adapted from other myths that were around at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The flood didn't happen.
Yeah.
The Tower of Babel is a weird explanation for language. I started seeing all that.
I wonder, see, this is when they say the Tower of Babel is a weird explanation for I guess, change difference in language, but there's no there's no other explanation. Like, there's no other reason why from one location, let's say 40 different languages will come from there. Because if they were all in one location, they would probably all be speaking the same language because they'll be communicating with each other. If not, because the idea would be if you're all together and you're all living there this whole time, you're all communicating. So you have to be sharing the same language. If not, there's no way for you to communicate. But if everybody in that community had different languages, then how were they communicating? Why were they living there together without communication the entire time? Something had to have happened. Like, I would actually, again, more research for me to just look up why then were they all living together? Like, because the thing is, science begs on logic, and a lot of the things that are conclusions from science don't make sense. Or at least don't make sense to me.
That, and so I was like, okay, now my entire view of the beginning of the Bible is different. And again, I would go to the apologetics answer, and I would be like, one person seems to be like, the critical scholars actually seem to be like interested in what happened. Like, why did these people write this? Why is it like this? Where did this idea come from? And then the Christian apologists seem to be like, well, we know it's God.
Mind you, actually, this is one of the things that I think is the biggest evidence of Christianity, is the fact that if something happened, all these things that are being spoken about right now from a science perspective, they didn't have science back then. So for them to describe a scenario that science can, they didn't have, basically the way they're looking at this is as if those people knew that they had the knowledge back then, and then they tried to confuse people in the future. They didn't have science to explain these things, to then try to then theoretically try to confuse people. Like, they didn't have it. Like, they didn't have this information that you're saying they're trying to corrupt. They didn't have it. They didn't have, science was not that good back then. Sorry, I'm raising my voice. It's just like the view that they're using to try to discredit what the Bible is saying is a view that acknowledges that these people knew the science of the future and then tried to distort it.
God's word. So how do we prove it? And it just kept creeping closer and closer to Jesus. And I had this, like, this happened, this was years, right? Because I was like, well, I'm not going to stop believing in Jesus. You know, you can have these weird ideas about the Old Testament, but like, Jesus is different. I mean, I have a personal relationship with.
Here we go. So now this is what I want to, I want to hear this, and I hope that this stuff makes sense, at least, because here now we're going to talk about the Jesus aspect of it, because, okay, fine. We've said all these things about science and how these people are butchered. Okay, fine. Let's see, is Jesus also a scientific fiction?
With him, and you know, and that stuff's true, right? You know, the stuff about the resurrection, my arguments for why the resurrection had happened, and it being the best explanation for the beginning of the church and all this. I'd like had those arguments in my back pocket. But long story short, eventually those arguments fell victim to the same type of critique. They're a little bit different, because I do think that there is a more interesting conversation around the resurrection, because you can kind of know a little bit less about what happened. And you can be somebody who believes all this stuff about that I might agree with related to evolution, but then be like, I have a faith position that Jesus actually rose from the dead. I recognize that it's not a scientific thing. I can't prove it. It is a little bit different category. But it opened me up to questioning these sacred ideas. And it's just the most sacred idea of all, that Jesus was the Son of God who raised from the dead, eventually was the last domino to fall.
Wow. And how does that finally fall? I mean, because the evolution thing confronts, and I think the reason why it was so scandalous in the 19th century is kind of just a vibe shift right? Because when you speak to philosophically minded Christians, they will quite correctly say there is no argumentative syllogism you can construct which shows that because animals have a common ancestor, therefore God doesn't exist. That doesn't follow. There's no argument you can make from that. But it's hard to put into words just like the feeling. Again, it's like we were saying before about the indicating a direction of thought. When a society is based upon the idea that human beings are special and unique.
Yeah.
This idea, if you're smart, it doesn't need to undermine the idea that God exists, but it shows this direction of thought, like, oh gosh, we're not as special as we thought we were, and where's that going to lead? I'm pretty sure that in the first edition of The Origin of Species in 1859, that beautiful ending, there is grandeur in this view of life from many different species, whatever it is, having been breathed into many lives or into one, have been and are being evolved. And there's that phrase, like having been breathed into one or to many, primordial forms of life. And presumably because of the backlash that this idea receives in the second edition of The Origin of Species, having been breathed by the creator into one life or to many, Darwin defaced the ending, his moving ending to The Origin of Species. And I think by edition 3, it was back out again. So you can, I've seen one in person, an actual second edition at like a rare bookshop. If you happen to be in like a fancy rare bookshop and see if they've got a second edition, it will say by the creator, because there's just something so confronting about it that you need to respond to. But okay, there's that. And then there's the resurrection. That's not just like a vibe shift. This is the historical claim upon which Christianity is based. And like you say, it's less accessible to the scientific method because it's a singular event.
Yeah.
It's not like a process that's still going on today that we can biologically observe. And you can't scientifically or historically prove the resurrection, but you can prove like surrounding facts. You can say that Jesus was crucified, that his disciples claimed to see him, all of this kind of stuff. All of those arguments are still there and still sat in your mind. Presumably you're pretty familiar with them as someone who specializes in outreach. Why would that change? Like what shifts the dial on those kinds of arguments for you?
And this is where I don't remember.
Have a good day as well, Latin.
Like, okay, well, it was this book. It was that, but it could be something as simple. It was one aspect of that argument, of that case. Probably the most famous one is, well, why would the disciples die for a lie?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I really looked into that, and then I found that, well, I don't think I can actually historically defend that anyone died for something that they knew to be a lie. Like, I think that this can be explained by them being deceived, right? They could just be wrong about what they saw or their perspective. But I think the bigger picture was, as I started looking at different perspectives on
That's such a weird perspective, because at the end of the day, if Jesus was in a tomb and his body was right there, it doesn't matter what everybody else says they believe or they saw the man again. All they'll say is the body is right there. History does not talk about the body just being right there and there being this whole revolt of people who saw the body right there and were wondering why all these lunatics were talking about Jesus being the Messiah. They would have just seen the body and they would have just put all of them in taking them to the psych ward. They wouldn't be chasing them down to kill them. That wouldn't be the logical process of what happens next. If 10 people, 20 people, 100 people are making up a lie and there's evidence to prove otherwise because the body of the person's still dead in the tomb, everybody's just going to go to the tomb and say, what is all this crazy people doing, man? Y'all need to shut up. In fact, they would do weekly sessions preserving this body for as long as possible so people can continue to see that it's a fake. But that's not what history says. History doesn't talk about the fact that there was a body somewhere that everybody could check on. So the idea that people could have died for the wrong reason, for what they believe in, is not even where the issue is. Doesn't end there. Say, yes, okay, fine, they were crazy, or they were lied to and they believed a lie. But how about everybody else? How about people that lives there and saw that the tone? And why wouldn't they just show the body? Just bring the body. Everybody now knows that it's a lie, and there would be a whole story along those lines, and that would probably be as significant as what the Christians did, because in fact it will be true and provable.
Jesus. I remember there was one book that was called The Historical Jesus, 5 Views. And I read that book, and I think every one of them was some kind of Christian.
Yeah,
just
sure.
Different gradations of liberal or progressive Christian. And everyone laid out their case with a lot of confidence and a lot more scholarship and knowledge than I have about the subject. But it was so gray. And I just started, this feeling began to creep in, which was like, okay, well, maybe he did rise from the dead, but what I've learned about the process of historical investigation, and also just the nature of human psychology and the nature of religious movements and the nature of people's willingness to believe things, like, it began to dawn on me that I don't know exactly what happened with Jesus. I don't know the nature of his.
Yo, take it easy, Ken. Have a good night, brother.
On the cross, was he thrown into a large, like mass grave? Was he put into a rich man's grave by Joseph of Arimathea? Was that invented? I don't know. But what seems to be pretty clear to me is that it's almost certain that there's some explanation for how it all started that isn't that he actually raised from the dead. In my compulsion to believe that he raised from the dead, it is a religious position. It is a faith position. It's not an historically defensible position to the degree that these Christian apologists make it out to be. We were talking last night about Dale Allison, how I just think I love his book.
He's great.
And this was all like,
I
read that like 2 years ago. So this is all way after my deconstruction, but I'm still interested in the subject. But, he's a Christian. He believes that it happened. But I think he's got one of the best books on the resurrection. The thing is so refreshing about it is he's not coming at this from like a Gary Habermas standpoint where he's like, this is the most reasonable thing. And if you don't agree with that, you're being unreasonable. It's like, well, no, we're talking about the pinnacle of an unreasonable idea, an unreasonable idea.
Yo, good night, Ace.
If this happened, this is something I have to accept on faith, and I am completely fine with people who do that. But my intuition is that it didn't happen, and I have sort of lost my ability to have faith in things that are just conjecture and things that something that foundational.
I don't have enough reason to believe in it, but I will just choose my intuition since I can't find the answers. I remember that's similar to what Screw was saying earlier. Is like, I don't have definitive proof that this thing happened. So I'm more likely to go with my intuition than to go with what presents itself as the fact and the truth. I don't even have reason to believe that it's not true. I just oh my goodness. Interesting. Well, I got the end of what I wanted to do here, and hopefully I pray that tomorrow whatever topic that I end up looking to share with you guys is something that actually adds value. Tomorrow I'm gonna try to get on at like maybe 1:30. We'll see. Tomorrow my wife's also gonna be home, so we'll see how all of that goes. But thank you guys so much for hanging out. It was a fun day today. It's been a fun past couple of days have been really fun. I will see you guys tomorrow. And and we'll see how the day goes. Please take it easy, man. Have a good night. Take care.